Okay. Flip the time, number 8.
I'm ready.
Let's call the meeting to order, please. Today is Tuesday, it's July 28th. We're here for our regular city council meeting. We're going to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy,
Here.
Mr. Peak,
Here.
Ms. Cole,
Here.
Mr. Pollock,
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
All right. There are no special announcements. We will move right to the agenda. We have quite a few items, and to remind everyone that we also have the first our workshop following this meeting, budget workshop. All right, moving to the agenda, ordinance 747. This is an ordinance about the selling of the Civic Center property. There will be, I think it would be appropriate to, first of all, let the administrator discuss whatever information he has concerning that. I am going to pass the chair to the Mayor Pro Tem for handling this item, and I have a potential conflict of interest that I need to disclose, so I will not be participating. Mr. Pollock, the chair is yours.
Okay. Mario?
Thank you. The item that we have before the council is the Civic Center parcel. That parcel is a little complicated in the sense that it is strictly the developable site that is being sold, which, leaves some questions to buyers and things like that. We did get a ballpark figure to do the initial listing for the parcel. We started receiving bids as early as Friday, I believe. We received a couple bids over the weekend. We received a couple more bids. At this point in time, we have one bid for, and again, it originally was listed up to $100,000. We've received one bid for $150,000. It does have a 15-day feasibility study and a 30-day finance, which is typically standard. Also keeping in mind that because this is an ordinance to sell, it takes one more meeting to make the sale. So we have that bid at $150,000, and then we also have a backup bid for $125,000. So we have two solid bids. The $125,000 bid has zero feasibility and zero financing days. It looks like it's probably a cash deal. I understand why the mayor has stepped out, and I believe it's because that parcel would be Lee Cappy purchasing that. We have checked with legal counsel. If it is something that does go through, he does have the right to buy as long as it's posted and publicized and everything, which everything was posted and publicized. So at this point in time, the $150,000 bid also states within the packet that was submitted that it would be for a pharmacy going into that location. So if council wishes to make that sale to any one of the, and keep in mind there's four others, there's another bid for $115,000 and another bid for $110,000. So we have four solid bids at this point in time, and it's the pleasure of the council to make the sale or.
Thank you. Okay, the chair is open for discussion from the audience. Do we have any? Zach?
Zach Childs. I just got this property listed, so I wanted to offer I could answer any questions possibly with what's going on with it. I agree with Mr. Mario. You've got a clear-cut leader right now that's going to net you about $20,000 more than the second offer. So just need you guys to give him some guidance on what we need to tell this buyer. And consider, do you want to work with the second place buyer? What you want to do in that regard? If the buyer A has 15 days, they can back out if you decide to work with that. So it's a clear-cut one, but in 2 weeks they can say the site doesn't fit them. So I want you to go ahead and think about what you're gonna do if they say that, so we've got a plan, you know, on what to do.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, the chair is open for discussion or motion from the council.
I would like to know, has the property been appraised?
Zach,
You do not have a formal appraisal to my knowledge. You do not, that I'm aware of.
It hasn't been appraised, in part because it's such an unusual property. It has these strange parking rules and restrictions on it, and then also in part because the cost of the appraisal.
Yeah, I think you'd be throwing money away. Appraiser needs 3 comps that are sold and 3 that are active. You haven't had a parcel in Mexico Beach Shopping Center sell on the open market in 15 years. So it's a very subjective piece of property with no real data to put your hand on.
Wouldn't we know better though what the property is actually worth if there was an appraisal done?
Your last appraisal, you got spent a bunch of money on La land, you appraised it at 30,000, we sold it for 60. The property had a lot of issues with it, we cleared those up. I did after I volunteered to help the city when your highest bid was 25,000, and we cleared those up, so I think our appraisal would be throwing money away. I have conference with a few appraisers because this is such a tricky property, but, I leave that to council, but a normal seller, I think, would not look at that as a good use of money. I think you've tested the open market for 10 days. Some people believe in appraisal more than others.
Right.
If you tested the open market for 10 days, you have a fantastic offer on the table for somebody. Full disclosure, not my client, and I volunteered my services if I represent any client, not to charge the city anything. Adrian Rowley brought a fire and also did the same. The other agents have asked to get paid. But I think you've got a clear-cut, great offer. Appraisal's gonna take months on a commercial appraisal. I don't think you're gonna get any data. You could risk losing this buyer. I guess if you're gonna do that, I don't know why you put it on the property on the market 2 weeks ago, if we're at that stage.
Do we know who the pharmacist is?
Google search shows he owns some pharmacies in South Georgia, Mr. Darrell. Pharmacia LLC, signed by Mr. Posey. Google search that, he owns a few pharmacies.
So he's probably not joking.
Well, you'll know in 15 days.
Okay,
And he's got a financing contingency. Could it appraise for that? I mean, you have potential issues with that. Yeah, your second offer with Lee, with Mr. Cassie, is a cash close tomorrow, so maybe you keep that in mind. Obviously, you hope the person works, because the city makes another $20,000. It does. You can go back
So-
on the market, you're not obligated to anything in regards to the backups. I just want, I need some guidance to tell the other 3 buyers. You have 4 offers.
okay, so we got 4 offers, one's at 150 roughly.
You got 150, 125, 115, and 110.
Okay, so if this fella fell through and we didn't have a contingency, what happens?
You could.
That's what I'm asking you guys.
Do we
Do we tell people we're just gonna go back on the market, you wanna work with number 2? It's totally your decision, I just need some guidance to tell people.
For me, I'm thinking that the whole idea is to get as much money for the city as we can. I mean, and for Lee, Kathy, and whatever, they're outbid by $25,000. I don't know that there's gonna be somebody else come through, but I hate to lose that kind of money without, giving this fellow a chance. So he's got 15 days to do
You've gotta work with A first, I believe, as a
Yeah.
real estate professional. It's a far better offer than anything you have on the table, it's just not a 100% sure thing.
and his requirements were 15 days.
15-day feasibility study and 30 days to secure financing, we close in 45 days.
So if he's got multiple pharmacies, more than likely, he's already considered his financing and probably won't have a problem now.
Are you
Feasibility,
reasonable to request a pre-approval letter
yeah,
on your behalf?
okay. Which is good. Now, feasibility study, how quick do those get done? I mean, can
He's
he,
asked for a 15-day feasibility study.
so, and you think that's,
Feasibility study, that's not a specific thing, that's anything, he's gonna come vet the property for his use, probably meet Mario quite a few times to make sure he can do what he wants to do.
right,
There's no outside consultants or anything necessarily that means you
Okay.
have to be involved. So that
And-
timeframe is sufficient, I believe, talking to their representative, as long as the questions can be answered by the city on what you can do.
Okay, do we know who's representing this fella?
Mary Blackburn.
Mary Blackburn, and she's not giving her fee.
She did not volunteer to wait, correct.
Can we twist her arm?
I'll leave that up to you guys.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, going back to Sharon's line of thinking, the Parker Realty spot, what are they asking for that?
If you're a new member, 250, it's been on and off since the hurricane. I'm not sure exactly.
So we don't know that.
Around 250 is what, they started at 250, I think they reduced once. If there is a comp, it's that one, but you've got, that's Highway 98 traffic versus kind of hidden in the back, so
That's the biggest difference.
fantastic visibility versus none.
Yeah.
Versus behind, Beach Walk and Mango Marlin, so they're different parcels for sure.
Councilman? No, go ahead, Gary.
I'm for the $150,000. But if it falls through, I think it needs to come back before the council. I don't, you want guidance, I think, in my opinion, if this 150 falls through, we'll know something by
Well,
15 days or
Can
30
you give
days.
specific guidance? Do you want to take it off the market if it falls through? Do you want price raise? Do you want it to go back at 100? What do you want? Can you give Mario something? I gotta have something specific to comply with the rules of real estate.
I think it needs to come back to the council for us to decide what we want to do with it.
Okay? So I'd like you to suggest that if that's how you agree, that if this buyer doesn't perform, that you withdraw it from the market and y'all can regroup.
Yes, that's me now. I think that's best for the city.
Otherwise, if he cancels next week, it's gonna go back on the market. You're gonna have a special meeting and just give some specific guidance.
Let me ask you, you've been doing real estate an awful long time, Zach. How common is it for us to say, we put it on the market for 100 and all of a sudden, within a matter of just a few days, we're getting offers at 150? So does that tell your sense of real estate knowledge that we probably underpriced it to start with?
Possibly. You've had a great market since Memorial Day here. I talked to a few appraisers, said like, no way we can get it to 100. That is a very complicated piece of property, but I think for somebody like a pharmacist that has a specific use and that thing might work, that's a great option.
Okay,
And then get a full-size lot up on the highway, we've been selling for 180 and stuff, so it's kind of confusing, but he likes that spot for some reason. And
well, he's got a lot of parking there that he's not having to pay for, right?
Yeah.
So actually just getting the piece of property to put his building on, he's being able to utilize, I mean, because I don't know exactly how many parking
That's an
spaces.
extremely small piece of property, 0.11 acres, but you get great parking with it, so I mean, that's where it's unique.
And there's actually a lot of parking. When you say that there's a ton of parking compared to what you would normally get for, yeah. And the Parker, if they're listing it for 250, they don't have the same ability to park in some public spaces.
It's part of the shopping center.
Same rules.
So yeah, I guess they would have,
Less
The fish-
practical because they share with the restaurants and.
right, so the fish house, and we don't know what's gonna go back there, but that little area was kind of their extra overflow for parking.
But those 9 technically are all entitled to each of those extra parking spots.
Yeah,
Which was
okay.
originally platted.
Okay. What did, you wanna give me your personal opinion, what you think?
If you've got a fantastic offer you need to go with, hope it works.
Yeah,
If
okay,
doesn't, I'm good with, pulling it off, regrouping something, I just need specific. I can't, if I call Mario on Friday and say they've canceled, what happens to the property?
yeah. Well,
There's something before y'all have another meeting.
I agree with Jerry. I think we should consider it again because, even though I understand what you're saying about an appraisal, because I've sold property and done stuff too, and you gotta have a comparable, and we don't have the comparables. Like I
You got
said,
2 hurdles, it's gotta meet his needs after he meets with Mario, and then the financial period, it's gotta appraise. You get through that, city's made a great decision.
good. All right, thank you.
And we do know, and we will know that this piece of property is gonna go for a pharmacy for sure, or we just speculating here?
They put in their contract that the property would be used for a pharmacy. Without some additional legal language, I don't know how you require that, Mr. Jerry, but they put in there the intended use as a pharmacy.
Normally, we wouldn't lock that in. I mean, sometimes some people have full intention to do something, it doesn't work out, have to sell the property. But you could, The more you add limits like that, the less likely the deal will close.
So you're talking about making sure that a pharmacy actually gets used there.
Right, the way to do that, the simplest thing would do a deed restriction, and you could make it expire after a few years, it doesn't have to be a permanent restriction. It's just not typical, you wouldn't normally do that.
Okay?
I think if you were at 120 and 120 and you wanted a pharmacy versus a haircut barber, you do that. But they're paying so much more, I don't think you should put that burden on them.
Yeah, right. I agree with that, yeah.
And that would hurt in the process.
Yeah.
What-
The appraisers are gonna want.
Then it's gonna box them in, and then the appraiser's gotta go find 3 pharmacies that are so full, and
Yeah,
it makes
right.
it even more challenging.
It
Right.
probably means there would have to be a cash deal.
Yeah,
You have that kind of restriction.
yeah, right, okay.
Let me make a couple comments about the ordinance, which is what we've given you as far as approving something today. It's designed so that you would talk about these offers first. If you think one of these offers is strong, the offer will become part of this ordinance, it'll be the attachment. What the ordinance says is that you're authorizing the property to be sold on terms at least as good as that offer. And if you want Mario to go negotiate further, we can, but if you're satisfied and it's time just to get it under contract and move towards closing, that's fine too. We didn't know exactly what we'd be dealing with this week, so we built in some flexibility. And it just happened over the weekend, we got stronger offers. So the reason why there's an ordinance, you have a charter requirement that says selling property needs to be done by ordinance. So if you like this $150,000 offer, you would do a first reading on this ordinance with the offer attached to it. You give Mario and Zach the direction to go back to that buyer, tell them, we're going to deal with you. But you'd actually do a second reading of this ordinance to formalize it 100% for your charter purposes next meeting. We'll get this advertised, you'll be able to get it adopted in 2 weeks from now. So that's why there's an ordinance, it's a little bit unusual.
But getting it adopted 2 weeks from now is not gonna slow our buyer down.
Should be fine based on the timing that they've stated.
So he ought to still be able to do his stuff. And so even though we've got 2 weeks before we adopt the ordinance,
It works perfect with his feasibility study.
so he's
It'll
gonna,
be running simultaneously.
So
He's
it-
still satisfied.
so if we say we're gonna sell it to him today, then he starts today.
If
When-
you
as soon as
give
he's,
Mario the authority to sign something where he understands, somebody can't come in and bid 151 tomorrow, his
Right.
timeframe could start.
right,
And those could be going on simultaneously.
I got you.
Yeah, the best way to handle this would be authority for Mario or the mayor to sign the contract, but we had a contingency that the ordinance needs to be adopted prior to closing.
I'll do that and add that you want to pre-approve of this, so we don't spend a long time.
I agree with that. Yeah, right. So that's essentially, if we do pre-approval, we know that he's got the money, so he
Still
does.
needs to appraise, but we know he's qualified. to
Right.
make it.
Right. And he may have the money even if it doesn't appraise, and he thinks he's gonna generate enough income from that.
Good.
Because we don't have a pharmacy here. I think he would do really well,
Well, if
personally.
everything works for Mario and the price is slightly low, he could pay that difference certainly, or he could come back and ask you to renegotiate based on the appraisal.
Yeah. I don't think he'd get that far with that. Anyhow, thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, the chair will entertain a motion to read ordinance 747.
I make a motion, we read it by title only.
And
Second.
the reading is not gonna specify the offer, is it with the $150,000 offer as the exhibit to the?
That'd be after this reading, right?
Okay? I make a motion to read ordinance 747 by title only.
Second.
An
Then
ordinance
put-
of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the sale of the Civic Center property and providing immediate effective date.
Okay. Got to vote for it. Lindsay?
Okay, does Mayor Kathy in this vote for the
No.
ordinance?
No.
Okay, so then we'll go with Mr. Key.
Why don't we make this a vote to
The hundred-
accept the offer with the contingency that
To add with
you
that?
need to adopt an
Okay.
ordinance and that you want a financing pre-approval.
Okay, so he's gonna have to make his motion again.
You add in there that the property is removed from falling, right? We need to add in there the property is removed from the market if this buyer cancels. And that will solve everything we're trying to do with this.
That's helpful too.
Okay, so We talked a lot. Tell me again what we gotta put in it,
Remove from market,
okay?
sign the deal with pre-approval,
Okay,
$150,000 for Pharmacy LLC.
And have the contingency that the contract is contingent on the city council finishing this ordinance adoption process.
That's a long motion.
And completing your replat if you wanna get everything you've gotta do to sell this property.
We got the signatures today, I think we're good.
One other thing, not overcomplicated, you guys gotta choose a closing agency as the seller also. If you want to do that at a later date, or not, knock everything out at once.
Did the contract state one? I know some of
The
the.
seller gets to choose.
Okay, well, I mean, my firm's happy to do it, we will certainly close it at all standard rates.
Okay, we've got to start again.
okay, so, all right. I'm gonna step up and make myself the dumb one here. Just to make sure, we gotta do it with, a sign with the pre-approval, financial pre-approval, okay? And contingent on the ordinance, and there was one other thing.
If this buyer cancels. you'll
Okay,
remove it from the market.
okay, so I make a motion that we accept the offer. If this buyer does not come through and, seal the deal, then we bring it back to council, take it off the market, okay? Also that we get it signed with pre-approval, his financial pre-approval, and that it is also contingent on us approving this ordinance and having time to do, ordinance 747.
Second.
Liz, you got all that?
Mr. Key,
Yes, ma'am?
Ms. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, we're good. The chair will relinquish back to the mayor.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 748. Similar ordinance to the one that we just talked about, and then we also need to, before we read and do anything, need to find out what the offers are and how the council feels about. This is the other lane, the property on La Lane, 246. So, why don't we discuss what we got before us, and then we'll get into the order.
Mayor, we listed this property at the same time we listed the other property. It is currently listed at $69,000. We have received two bid proposals, one for $57,500 and another one for $62,000. If the council chooses to accept one of these bids, please acknowledge if it chooses to wait for a higher bid, we can do the same thing. It's up to the council.
Just for background, the lot next door to it, the city sold, around a year ago for $60,000 over.
About 6 months ago, so for 6.
60 years.
That one, y'all turned down a few offers and then somebody presented 60 and y'all were ready to sell.
So,
Tanya's last month, you guys on time frame?
All right, so we have two offers, 62, what is the 62? Cash offer,
No, sir.
contingent?
Both your offers are contingent upon loans. Your 57.5 also has a 15-day feasibility study. Your 62 has no feasibility study, so if you're gonna consider one, the 62 is obviously higher and a little cleaner without the feasibility study.
What are they suggesting to close?
A month.
30 days.
is this, can we ask questions now?
Sure?
So,
More
you think that's a good deal? You think we could get more? What do you think?
Try to get a tad more. You know, market's improved quite a bit since y'all sold that one 6 months, since Memorial Day. I could live with if you're gonna leave it on the market, but it's kinda, how much do you need this money? Do you wanna wait 3 more months for $2,000 more? It's kinda up to how quick.
So you think the best we're gonna do is what?
69 is not out of the question with the current supply and demand,
And we got 62, so another $7,000.
which is on the table.
Just go with it, just
And it's
buy
going
the
up.
property, go with it. You won't find a lot of them in my neighborhood that cheap.
Yeah,
I say we leave it on the market.
Well, it's only been on the market for how long?
A little less than 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah. That would be my thought. Can I ask, I want to ask another question, because I don't know that much about y'all's. If someone comes in, are you allowed to tell them that you've got an offer for a certain amount of money?
Not without you telling me that. I can tell them we have offers. So these people have all been made aware they have multiple offers.
Okay,
Like the Civic Center, some chose to raise their offer, I can tell them we've got 3 offers, we've got 4. I can't tell them amounts unless without your guidance to say, listen, we've got 63, but we do 65.
so we could tell you that we could, it's
You can
okay.
counter this and say, we'll take it at 65, 69, and you can, I can do whatever.
So,
Do
so.
most things with your direction.
So legally, if we said, well, you know, tell them we got, you know, we got one for 62, but maybe the other person would offer more or whatever?
Well, if you're gonna go back to somebody, I would go back to the 62 person and say, it's
Yeah,
gonna
right.
take X to buy it.
Right,
But if you're gonna just leave it on the market, I'd say we look at when you're gonna be meeting, again, planned meeting without having a special meeting. And we could change it and say, you know, bids will again be read at X meeting.
now, could we also pull it off the market and put it back on at a higher price?
Sure.
So that's legal too, even after we've gotten offers?
At this point in time, you're not obligated to either of these offers.
Okay. But you think 69 is not out of the question,
62 is not a bad offer.
but 69 is not out
Line
of
demand on lots in Mexico Beach has improved greatly
And-
since Memorial Day.
it, and stuff going up, so, okay, thanks.
We can make this work though, if you wanna counter at 69, we'll finesse the ordinance, I mean, it's all possible. This is only a first reading also.
Okay,
Why don't we counter at 67?
I think that's too cheap.
let's counter at 69, you think that's too
Well,
much?
that's what it's listed for.
Well, it's listed.
Oh, it's
Everybody
listed for
knows they
60.
can buy it for 69 unless somebody brings it
I
better.
mean, if it's too cheap, then we need to pull it off and get more, and raise the price. If we wanna deal with a buyer that's made us an offer, then I would be for, I mean,
Pulling it off and raising it?
I mean, if 69, if the council feels like that's not where we need to be, and we wouldn't, don't wanna accept that, then we need to regroup.
I don't think we need to expect more than 69 at this time. You want to reevaluate next spring or something, but at this time, you had another person want to submit 50 this morning, but they wanted to know if that was the highest. I mean,
Yeah.
This isn't a wild card like the Civic Center is.
Yeah, right. And this is in the Nanook-ish.
It's turned out a lot.
Well, I think 67, 69 is a fair price. I don't think it's overpriced. Perfect. And if we've got a buyer that's offered 62, I think it's perfectly acceptable negotiating way to say, hey, let's counter, best we can do is 67, and if they walk, then they walk. But I'd hate to lose a buyer. I don't know of anyone that needs more, that needs cash money than the city. And then once you have a buyer, negotiating with them is a good faith. If we just gonna, if we don't want 69, I think we need to settle that. But if we do, if we're okay at 69, I would think we would be okay at 67 personally, but maybe not.
That's a reasonable, good faith move. You let them take it or leave it, and if they don't take it, then y'all tell me when the next time we're gonna meet is, or do I just send them Mario and he has a special meeting? What do we need to do?
Or we can just refuse the offer.
Yes.
I kinda agree with you, Al. 67 would be a good deal compared to what we sold the last for. Besides that, it's a good neighborhood.
I agree with that.
Also, wasn't there an issue with this lot about an old well or a lift station?
We worked through that.
That's all.
Yeah, we got all that done.
Okay.
Got concrete removed, got it, everything's,
The concrete was actually on the other lot we already sold.
Yeah, that's
Once
right.
we removed it, we built it up, made the other one a tad better, so it was chosen first.
All right, Chair will entertain a motion or discussion.
Just for further discussion, if 67, if we don't work this out, what are my instructions?
I don't know. We're gonna tell you here in a minute. We're gonna find out.
I think we need to hold out for 69. I believe the price of property's going up. I don't think having anything here is gonna go down. I believe it's going up. Holding for $2,000 more, has been on the market for 2 weeks. I don't think it's unreasonable. So either take it off the market or, make it higher or wait for 69.
I'm countering at 67.
It's only been on the market for 2 weeks. So I agree with Jerry. I think we should, hold out for the 69.
It's been on the market a lot.
Well, it's been
longer
longer
than
than
2
that.
weeks.
We were on the
Just
market
said
for
2 weeks.
6 months.
Yes.
It expired and you
I did
relisted it.
Yeah.
So it's been on.
That's
So-
about 7 months on this one.
How long's it been off the market before we relisted it?
It was off a little bit, trying to get the paperwork and everything. We've been off this summer,
And the best offer we got on it previous was what?
60.
My suggestion, if you're not gonna counter or accept an offer, pick a new listing price, probably something in the 70s. And just give Zach the direction to adjust the listing.
All right, we got a hold at 69, a counter at 67. Does anybody else wanna, so we can make a decision of what we want, where we wanna go?
I think hold at 69, I think, based on what Zach said and everyone else has said. It's not been
Hold at
listed yet.
69. Chair, hold at 69, hold at 69.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna hold at 69. We're not gonna counter, that's the selling price.
Can I give guidance then in the advertising that at this time it's gonna take a full price offer?
That seems to be what everybody wants to do.
I would agree with that.
So in that case, we don't need to read the ordinance.
You don't need to, but you may want to get the process going since it's.
If we get a full price, then we can at least sell it.
So
Okay, well, okay, I got you.
what you could do is you could read the ordinance and then just with the clarification that it's a $69,000 price. And we got an exhibit that's not attached with this today right now, and we'll just make that up and clarify that it's a $69,000 offer price.
But as far as the ordinance, that's not what it all says, so just, we're gonna read the ordinance as is, with there will be no attachment.
Well, between the first reading and second reading, we'll ensure that you've got something
Okay,
formalized.
so we'll read it today for the first reading, right? May as well.
Yes, and we're all understanding that $69,000 is the price level that the city has authority to sell at.
All right, motion to read ordinance 748 by title only, this is the first reading.
Make a motion to read ordinance 748 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion, second. Any opposition? Ms. Landry, please do.
An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the sale of 246 Lala Lane and providing an immediate effective date.
Thank you. That's the first reading. Just to see that that's on our agenda. Next reading. Okay, number 3 has been handled. Moving to number 4, preliminary plat on 15th Street. Everyone remembers we had discussion with this at our last meeting. There were some concerns, questions, comments. I think there also remain some concerns, questions, and comments. Just for the record, we all have not only our emails, but Lindsay passed out where we had comments from citizens, concerns in opposition to this. All of you have those, or they're on the table. So, with that said, is there there you go, we got somebody here from Dewberry to represent Mike.
No, I think, Josh is supposed to call in.
Josh is
Oh.
also available on the phone.
This is just a, little bit bigger blow up of the preliminary plat and survey, and just to make it a little easier to be seen.
Okay. Josh, you on the line?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, good morning. All right, Mara, what is what's the prepared protocol for discussion? I mean, we've all seen the packet, we've all seen what the buyer has responded to those questions. So Josh is on the line, we'll open the floor. Is there anyone here to speak about, I should go backtrack and make sure I open the public hearing. I apologize, let me get things right. We're gonna have a public hearing on this, I see you. And we will now open the public hearing for the 715th Street. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that I'm here as well. My name's Pamela Chapman. I'm a resident and speaking on behalf of the neighborhood currently in existence on Paradise Cove Boulevard.
Okay? You may speak, you may come forward just so we can hear you better, or you can speak from right there.
Okay, well, it's all good. And yeah, I've carried a lot of papers, but I'll try to be very succinct.
And your name again?
My name, I'm 6 feet away. My name is Pamela Chapman. I live at 108 Paradise Cove Boulevard, Mexico Beach. We purchased that land from Harmon Realty 2017 in September. So that would have been after the P&Z, or the rezoning was done. That went from, I went back through years of all your city meetings, so I could just gain some knowledge, because we didn't have any. Just to give you some background. So what we wanted to do as a neighborhood was to give you some input, hence the letters.
Yes.
So you can read those, but it's very interesting that we can kind of consolidate it, because all of us are addressing the same key points, which I'm here to sort of discuss with you. Let me go back a little bit. We purchased it in September 2017. I saw you at a city council meeting where it was rezoned by the previous owner, not this gentleman, but the original person who sold it when it was rezoned for commercial, general commercial versus residency. So I just kind of want to give you a timeline here. So my husband and myself, along with the other owners of the property, bought there because we wanted the beauty in all Mexico Beach. However, we didn't want the hubbub of short-term rentals, and wanted some peace, or whatever you want to call that. Now, on the other hand, I realize Mexico Beach has changed, and we do want progress and growth, so no one is stopping that. But what we're here in terms of trying to get, I guess, an agreement or some resolution, and trying to maintain the original footprint of that area, which was residential, okay? So that's all changing now. Let me just basically give you a little summary of the key points, not without going, you've got the letters, you can read those yourself. We've got Mike Guy, who has just purchased the property, has small kids, he's FWC, was a Florida Wildlife gentleman, so he has a lot of knowledge. And he has small children involved in this cul-de-sac for safety, etc. So the concerns that all of us in the letters come down to is, number one, flooding. Let me address that. I've lived there, I've seen it flood. I have pictures to prove it floods. In my house, in my yard, I just have a small little buffer. I had fish flowing through the front yard. However, in my 108, 110, 112, which I guess would be the north of me, completely underwater, as well as the canal that comes up. There's a retaining pond behind the properties, and there is a canal. Both those areas totally flooded out. Very scary. So flooding is an issue. The thing that regarding the flooding, when I'm looking at the engineers, et cetera, I kind of am concerned, or we are concerned, that perhaps everything changed after Hurricane Michael. Perhaps we want to make sure or ensure that the flooding and the engineering and whatever we need to make sure it will percolate would not affect our properties or harm our properties. Because there should be a lot of backfill on that area when we look at the number of units that are gonna be at the construction. And I'm afraid that, my goodness, if backfill is gonna elevate, our flooding issue is gonna increase. I have no doubt about that. So some engineers can fix that. That would be an issue that I would like to see addressed. If that can be addressed, we're all happy. We don't want to be flooded. I think that's key for that one. Not sure if everything has been done up to date with the new FEMA guidelines or whatever, just because we have no knowledge. Safety is one, just increased traffic that is coming in that area for children. Really the third thing is the parking issue. All of us, when we purchased our properties, we're told that that road, that cul-de-sac on the side that currently in this map shows that they're gonna have 9 entrances for these small homes across our street. As I look at this development, it appears to me, right or wrong, my words, and I'm saying this in a friendly fashion, overdeveloped. These are 2 separate neighborhoods. By opening up those 9 driveways on our street, that neighborhood, new neighborhood, Paradise Cottages, is gonna leach onto our footprint, onto our private areas that we purchased. So there again, you can have all the houses you want in there, but let's address the flooding issue and let's maintain the integrity of the footprint where we can walk out once again our road and not have God knows what may be there. I don't see a lot of area for parking. We know, as other people have implied, that when people come in, they bring other vehicles, they bring boats, they bring whatever. We just don't see the parking available for all of this. Perhaps they should readdress the parking issue, which would make selling it easier. It would just keep everyone happier. Also, since all of that area is designated as general commercial, why wouldn't they use, instead of our hopefully private road, I know it's not private anymore, but our area road, why don't they use the Rustic Sands Road? That's the general commercial area. Keep your general commercial properties together. Don't leach into our neighborhood. And let me just give you a couple of things here. So what we're hoping is to have some sort of a buffer there, but definitely not open access to our residential zone area. Needs to be 2 separate neighborhoods, and I'm in hopes that by bringing this to everyone's attention, that we can do something similar that the folks did on the canal when we had meetings talking about the St. Joe development property. Nobody is opposed to bringing in more business, more people, but let's try to do it in a friendly manner where it doesn't encroach upon the people who are planning to retire here and to bring their grandkids, etc. So to have a buffer on that would be good. And this is a dead-end street. We're trapped. I mean, if you go look at it, we are actually trapped. If those 9 access roads open up onto our road, we have no way to get out. We've got a canal on one side, we've got a retaining pond on the other. We cannot leave we would definitely track there. So for those reasons, I would like to have another avenue for those homes to be able to get into their driveways, but not to do it on our road. So do y'all have any questions for me? Because unfortunately, I'm the one who's coming here presenting a whole neighborhood's thoughts to you. And yeah, emotions run high.
You've done a
but
good job.
We take the emotions out of it. And, but anyway, I guess I should be quiet.
Well, you're entitled, this is a public hearing for you to tell us, and you've done a great job of that. Plus, we have your correspondence and the others. So all of that is part of the record.
And Mayor Kathy, your son lives on our road. You've got a grandchild on our road. You obviously picked that because, you know, it's a nice area. It's not, no longer, it's really gonna jeopardize, and we could go down to jeopardize our property values. Maybe it will help it. We don't know.
Well, you've made your points.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask you one thing. When you said there was flooding, was that flooding on your side or the other side? In the new development or on yours?
Our side.
And you had fish there?
Yes,
So-
baby fish, but they were fish.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I mean, they weren't like, you know, catch them.
So we can't go bluegill fishing in your yard next time it rains.
Is there anyone else here to speak during
And
the
they
public
want
hearing?
it to be, but
Well, that's fine. I mean, you're well noted and you've represented your area very well. Thank you. Anyone else? Before we close the public hearing. All right, we're gonna close the public hearing, come to the table. Lindsay, make sure that the correspondence is part of the record, that while we only have one speaker, we have multiple correspondence. So just make sure that that is properly documented. Okay, we'll move to the table. Josh is on the line. Some of the questions, I don't know if the table has, I assume we've seen the answers that were given. So we'll open it up, those of you that have questions.
Hey,
I have a question for the attorney before we start. All of this whole thing says that it meets our land development regulations. The fact that it says it meets our land development regulations, we as a city council, if we have strong suggestions about things that we want to see, would like to see changed, where do we stand with it meets our land development regulations versus some of our feelings, some of our concerns, even though it meets the land development regulations? Where do we as a city stand in asking or requiring that certain alterations maybe be done?
The land development code sets your minimum standards, and you can certainly make suggestions. If you get too aggressive and you have an applicant that gets upset and files a legal challenge, if you're going outside of your land development code, it's gonna help their case a lot. But you certainly can make suggestions. It's very common that an approval would have some conditions on it. But I wouldn't make suggestions that dramatically alter your development concept. But you do have some flexibility.
okay.
I have a question too, after listening to that presentation by Public. So, this is a question for you, Josh. It may be addressed in the written materials, but just remind us if it is, what the situation is. So, a lot of the lots on this development are accessed by this existing Paradise Cove Boulevard. That's part of the plat for Paradise Cove from 2003. And I'm looking at the plat. According to this plat, that road is maintained by the Paradise Cove Homeowners Association. It says until it's extended northward. Is this road being extended northward? If not, is something worked out so that would be addressed where you've got one homeowners association that's maintaining this road, and the second neighborhood that would begin using it?
Well, the answer to the first question is no, it's not gonna be extended, or it's not proposed to be extended at this time. At this point in time, now, I'm speaking on behalf of the owner, as far as I know, there has been nothing worked out with the Paradise Cove Boulevard, but I would expect that to be a part of their covenants and restrictions that they would prepare once we went into the development order stage of this project.
That would be really unusual to do an approval without the two adjoining neighborhoods already working out that issue.
It says public on the
Like I
map.
said, I can't speak on behalf.
Are you saying it's not a public road?
There is nothing worked out.
I'll read the way the plat describes it. It may have just become public over the years, totally maintained by the city, but the plat says that this is part of the dedication that deals with the road. Having caused said lands to be divided and subdivided as shown herein, and do hereby dedicate to the perpetual use of the public Paradise Cove Boulevard and the passive park area, said passive park area to be maintained by the Paradise. Well, this is really small print. Okay. I take back, the road's just a regular public road.
That's what I thought. But I thought we had accepted that road.
It is, Josh, my apologies, I'm barely able to read this item in front of me, and I'm reading from the whole 2003 plan.
Okay, because I thought we had accepted that road. Well, I'll tell you my concerns, and I've read his answers, but I have, the flooding is obviously a concern. It was a concern at the last meeting, it's a concern from these folks, and it's a legitimate concern. If the flooding, if the engineering of this development in terms of flooding must look at the effect that it has on the other areas that it touches. I don't see how we could possibly accept any new subdivision when it is a known flooded lowland area, that the whatever that effect and how it affects those to the west or to the east of Paradise Cove, it has to be included. Josh, has that been done, or are you looking strictly at the land that this development's on?
As part of Northwest Florida stormwater permitting, we're required to look at the drainage basin itself to see if there's offsite flooding or if there's contributing areas that are actually pushing water on our development. So the short answer is yes. We
Okay.
won't be able to
Thought it
secure a stormwater permit without looking at the areas surrounding the development as well.
Okay. All right, I thought the answer was yes, but I wanted to make sure. My second strong suggestion is that the developer look at Paradise Cove. He has 9 lots that face Paradise Cove. The lots across the street are developed. They're 75 feet wide. They're anywhere from 175 to 200 feet deep. I would suggest that on Paradise Cove that he reduce those number of lots to 6, which is the matching number of lots that are across the street from him, he would end up losing 3 lots and make those lots 75 feet wide by 90 feet long. Now, I don't know if that is considered to be legally, if that's some type of massive change, but those folks on Paradise Cove that are there, we deserve, or at least in my opinion, if we're gonna open our city up to new development, they gotta recognize the area that they're building in, and that road, I don't think needs to have 9 houses on it at 50-foot wide lots. From a traffic flow, from a safety standpoint, from just aesthetics, the interior lots are different because they have their own street. But those, I'm asking that we reduce the number of lots facing Paradise Cove from 9 to 6 and make them 75 feet wide by 90 feet long. Those are my 2 comments.
Josh, this last page, do you know the printouts we got? The last page is the shaded page that shows low density and general commercial. That, it actually shows the storm sewer, correct?
I don't know which page you're looking at, I'm actually looking at a site plan right now, so I'm.
There's a sheet 1, it says sheet 1 of the land use allocation map. It looks like the only difference in this one and the other ones, the big difference, it's showing the storm sewer is what I'm looking at.
Josh, it's the packet that was given out by your team here at the meeting, and they handed out 4 sheets. It's an S1, a cover sheet, a sheet that has no number on it, and then one that says sheet 1. It shows the development lightly shaded in gray for the residential area and a little bit darker shaded gray in the townhome area.
Okay, give me just a second, let me see if I can.
It calls out low density residential and general commercial, 1.03 acres.
I don't have that exact sheet, but I've got one close to it, so you guys can look at it. I've got one that's shaded, but
Josh.
It take me too long to try to find it.
Look at your phone. I'm taking a photograph of the drawing now.
Okay.
Okay, I just sent it to you.
Yeah, what are you looking at, just so I understand?
This sheet.
I understand the page, but you're looking at this area?
No, down here, see across the road, they're bringing pipes across the field.
Right here.
Okay, I've got it.
They're bringing pipes across the road. That looks like storm drainage. It's going back to here, it dumps out, and I wanna know what all this is.
Okay.
and how they're gonna
I got
handle
you.
things.
I'm with you.
Josh, the question is on the graphics. It shows a almost like a perimeter that's in the common area that is stippled, and we don't exactly know what that is, other than it looks like it's a sidewalk. Actually, now that I look at it, that is what it is.
Sidewalk, and it was, the quick history on this project is this was actually a pre-storm project that Dewberry had at the time, and it was my understanding that the city wanted that sidewalk as part of the development on that side. So it is a sidewalk, and that's why it's there.
So it's
Yeah, I know these are
that
sidewalks.
product there. Where was the stormwater that you were?
This is right here. Josh, what I'm talking about is the storm pipe, looks like it comes under the road at Paradise Cove Boulevard and goes to catch basins. I'm assuming those are catch basins or drop inlets there as well.
Now, what's shown on Paradise Cove Boulevard is what's existing, that is not proposed, that was just part of what was picked up on the survey.
So there's evidently there's storm sewer pipe under the Paradise Cove Boulevard, and you guys have picked it up on your piece and have run it down and under the sidewalk at just past number 28 lot, and it looks like you've dumped that out into the something that says pond area. Correct?
Yes, what's
That's it,
done
thank you.
is off the survey, but it appears that there is storm sewer that's on Paradise Cove that actually discharges into the ground.
So it discharged into the canal, but now it's discharging into, it's not discharging into the canal now, right?
All of that piping is existing piping which is captured by the survey. I don't think they're changing it.
But,
No,
but,
we're not touching that piping, whatsoever, no.
but now, but my,
Paradise Cove is actually existing in it, and it's shaded as such.
but my question is not about that piece of pipe, is the fact that it dumps out back here And wherever it dumps out, it's dumping out into this common area, which is,
Hey, Josh, I'm gonna help him out on this one real quick. This is where the stormwater pond will go. in
okay,
the
so this
future,
whole
once
area
it's
is a
been
stormwater,
designed.
so it's gonna be dug deep.
Yep,
or
it'll be
deeper.
dug, it'll be dug.
And with the water table, it can only go so much, right?
Yes.
So how deep is this one gonna be right in here?
We don't have it fully designed yet, but it would be, whatever we design it to would meet all Northwest Florida requirements. And so all the pond, all the stormwater, all the requirements for Northwest Florida would be met in that pond. And then as per, we're not allowed to discharge greater than what is already discharging off the site. So whatever we add, we have to account for. Then everything else would flow through this pipe into the canal after it's already been treated and meets all government requirements.
Will it be considered a retaining pond? Is that what you said?
Retention pond.
I'm not sure what exactly, there's a detention pond, retention pond, but it would be a pond that accounts for all stormwater that we need to account for, both on-site and anything attributing off-site.
Well, what I'm trying to do is address this lady's question, which she's representing all the other people, and they've had fish in their yard. And so I'm trying to make her understand, and us understand as well, that what they're gonna do, because, what the property doesn't have right now is it doesn't have roads and it doesn't have houses, and if it does end up with roads and houses, it's gonna increase the non-pervious area. So in other words, we're gonna have a lot more runoff. And so Josh, I guess my question is, how much of that, what do you take into effect? So if we approve this, how much stuff have you gotta do to prove that the additional water that's gonna come off these at a full build is gonna be able to be handled by this pond? That's all I'm getting at.
Well, and I think Caleb kind of addressed that in his response, but basically, it's part, the city's requirement and Northwest Farms requirements that we anticipate stormwater. What that means is we actually have to create a model of that site, taking into account our impervious area, our stormwater facility. We also have to run a model on that site as it is now. When we designed the stormwater facility, whatever stormwater runoff it generates right now as it is, we cannot exceed that discharge once the site is fully filled.
Okay,
For the stormwater permitting processes, we have to detain, percolate, and discharge less than what we're actually creating right now.
okay, that answers my question. And I only have one other question. These are gonna be built to the 500-year floodplain, and I think there's a house across the street on one of the big lots that has a benchmark that they have to build to. It's really, really high. Do you have in general idea how high these floor elevations are gonna be above the road?
According to the Northwest Florida Preliminary Adaptive Map View, the range in that unnamed A zone, which is most of the property, is a range of 13 to 14. Per the code, we have to be 1.5 feet above the top end of that range. So the finished floors on these houses per the code will have to be at a 15.5 elevation.
So 15.5, and so roughly, since you've studied this, how much higher is that ballpark than the road now?
I can't see elevations.
The existing is at the lowest spot is roughly around
Flat down, any kind of elevation.
Okay, so we're going from, in some places, 8 foot, and then some places maybe as much as 10 feet, maybe?
Yeah, I think that.
Could you guess that?
Maybe that site is around 8 to 10 elevation.
Okay, so 8 to 10, we're gonna,
Into that site in order to get the stormwater to drain and to develop the roadway and to rough grade the site.
all right, so the roadway is gonna have to pretty much, on the roadway that you're gonna put in called Jasmine Drive, in order to get these, well, I don't guess so. I guess it sounds like we're gonna have houses poked up like anthills, about 5 to 6, even as much as 7 feet above the roadway, right?
Well, the roadway looking at 15th Street is around a 12.5 elevation. So, our scope as engineers would be to rough grade that site and get the site
but more so on, compared to Paradise Cove Boulevard.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so, when you talk about rough grading this thing, explain that. Can you just briefly kind of explain, you're gonna suggest that they rough grade you, so you're gonna get them to bring this whole total grade up, keeping in mind that you gotta still control your runoff, even if you go up, you can't add runoff or anything else, right? So can you touch on what that entails, the grading of that?
Well, I mean, you know, there's no real easy way to explain rough grading of the site other than the fact that it's all driven according to our stormwater. It's driven on where the water table is, where the bottom of our pond is. Then we basically work backwards from there and make a tie into Fifth Eighth Street. So the goal would be to keep fill as minimal as possible on the site, but in order to convey stormwater.
Okay,
So, you know, that would be something that we would get into when we're in the actual development stage of the project.
okay. All right, thanks a lot, Josh.
Okay, moving on to others. Questions or comments or suggestions about, just a moment, public hearing now part's done, give us just a second, we gonna stay here at the table and do we want to send him back
Yeah.
some suggestions?
I got one more suggestion. I like yours, about 6 to 9, but I also been thinking about it. What if he put the back of the houses to Paradise Cove and put up a fence? And then put another road in? To look at your houses and just put a fence that way, the people on Paradise Cove, you had a fence in front of them, even though they're gonna be up high now. The lot number, where's my glasses? In Paradise Cove itself is 14, lot number 14, where I think Mr. Guy is building the house. The nail is above my head, this far. I'm standing up and the nail where he has to build is over my head, this high. So, he made a good point when he told you they was all they're gonna be high.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, I reckon they'll be on either pilings or build the dirt up, and when you build the dirt up and you're already in an A flood zone, that water has to go somewhere.
Well,
I think and to me, to protect the people of Paradise Cove, and I think the city, you know, I don't think this would be that drastic, would be to put the back of the houses to Paradise Cove and put up a fence and put another road. That way you would have it, and then worry about the storm water. The water's gonna go down in that ditch. It's, Mr. Harmon selling the dirt at his property, and it's dry as it can be now, but we all know that's Panther Creek, and they get a good rain, it does flood, and that water's gonna fill them ponds back up. And my other concern is the pond dam that he's got built is not a certified covered pond dam. It's just rock and brick and dirt thrown up there together, and it protects this piece of property.
talking about on Mr. Harmon's piece.
Mr. Harmon, that's just, he just throws some, that's that ditch that goes between him and Rustic Saints. But I'd like to see him put another road in if he could, and, you know, and now he'd have his own little compound in with fences that wouldn't bother the people on Paradise Cove, if it's feasible and possible. Plus the flood water has been my concern since day one. I think we need to, I'm like Darryl, I think we need to know a rough, but where's the water going? I mean, we already wet, and we're gonna build these houses up 6, 8 feet. We're gonna flood Paradise Cove, the water's gonna come across. When that ditch fills up, it goes behind Harmon, and then behind them, and beside them, that especially If you see the little shaded areas, that's water. On the next to the last page, it don't have a sheet, that's water there. And when that water fills up behind the pond there, it's got to go somewhere, and I believe it'll back up on Paradise Cove.
Well, I definitely like the idea of breaking the amount of houses on Paradise Cove down to 6 to keep it in compliance with that neighborhood. And yes, one of my main concerns is the overflow water.
Well, you know, I totally think that Al's right about cutting the lots down on that one road. I just think it's the least that we should do as a city to protect those people. They've got nice homes, big lots, and I totally agree. If he can, he's got to at least at the bare minimum. And I know, Josh, you got a lot more figuring to do, and he may get turned down by some of your engineering anyhow, possibly. So again, I think 6 lots. I think you're right, Mayor. That's the least we can do to protect those people in their houses and their property values and all the other stuff, and the amount of cars and stuff. These are, you know, you're gonna have a hard time. 50 feet a regular parking lot, you know, is 9 feet, and you can barely get out of your door. So, you know, I do driveways all the time, and I tell people that you're crazy to go any less than 10, and you really should be 12. So you really, if they got guests, they're not gonna have room to put their guests. So if they were wider lots, at least on that one side, and if they want to cramp themselves on their own property over there, you know, that changes the thought. But cramping those people across the street with a lot of cars because he's got, you know, all these lots, I think that's a real good reason to make them cut down to 6. And I don't think do you think that's aggressive, Nick? Is that something that would be aggressive?
You can request that or condition your approval. From my point of view, it probably makes the most sense of the flood issue. Just having fewer homes there, you're probably gonna handle water a little better there.
It makes it compatible with the neighborhood process.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
We did get a couple of comments from Gina Johnson, our planner. Her comments are the foundations of the homes will be required to be on stem walls, piers, or pilings. That's one point. And the floodplain ordinance only allows 1 foot of fill on residential lots. So the maximum amount of fill, according to our ordinance, is only 1 foot. So there's a couple things there that will force some things that should help with the flood concerns. And again, the fact that this whole subdivision is very dissimilar from again, when you just buy a single family home lot, you don't have to build a stormwater pond.
Mm-hmm. Right, correct.
Literally none.
Because it's already taken care of in the development.
Well, it may not have any design. Again, a single family home lot doesn't have to do that, it just can't put water on its neighbors disproportionately. But when you develop an overall site, it has higher restrictions, which means that you have to maintain for the whole subdivision a stormwater pond. So again, the Dewberry team or whoever does the development order has to design this per the EP and the Corps of Engineers and our code to not put any more water on the adjacent sites than what is currently going on the adjacent sites. This will not fix their problems if there's water coming off of this onto theirs, but it won't exacerbate their problem because their stormwater has to be
And that's all you can,
retained.
and that's all you can ask.
Yes,
But our ordinances does say that you can only put a foot of fill.
Yes, sir.
Once-
According to what I just got from Gina.
Okay. So they're gonna be sticking up still
Yeah,
5
they're gonna be on a stem wall that sticks up or on
or in
piles.
pilings or whatever. Okay.
All right, so do we have, we're gonna ask about the lots. I think Josh and the table has expressed our concern about the flooding versus just, it's gonna take in more than just their subdivision. It's gonna encompass the surrounding area. And Jerry, I sort of, I don't really follow the road thing, but those are two, I guess really the lot side, the flooding part is already part of the permit requirement anyway.
Correct.
Meaning our requirements plus Northwest Florida Water Management plus DEP plus everybody else that's got a 3-letter will have a say in that. So, Jerry, what are you wanting to add? You're gonna have to explain.
To me, to protect them fully, on Paradise Cove, we put the back of the houses, not the front of the houses, but put the back there. You'd have to add another road.
Where?
Well, he'd have to move houses over and put them in there somehow or
You got the 2 rows of homes that they're back.
Back to- yeah.
Yeah, so if
I
you
think
put-
what Jerry's talking about is putting either a full-size road or an alley at those boundaries of those lots, so that you can look at it either way. You could have rear parking access and leave the houses on where the fronting the streets are on, or you can flip them, like Jerry's saying, and the houses would face this new road.
Yes.
What I'm not sure about, and Gina's listening, she'll probably know if Mario doesn't, would they need to build to the same width and standards for an alley that's for parking access? Because they're gonna start running out of space if they have to have.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't-
I mean, essentially, that would be my comments, that per the code, unless Gina says different, you know, it would essentially be like a road that loops around, so you would have 2 roads with 50-foot right-of-ways, and you would essentially lose most of your lots.
And we do have a sidewalk requirement, it gets to be a lot of space.
I don't think they can do another road.
No,
I don't see anywhere to do
I
it.
can't see it, no.
But I haven't looked at it long enough to know for sure.
Well, I mean, the lots could only be then like 60, or instead of 90 feet deep, they'd have to be like 70 feet deep.
Correct.
Well, I think that, for me, that defeats even more the purpose of the. But that's, as far as my suggestions, Jerry, I'll leave that up to you to put yours in if you, I don't know how to do that. I don't see how that's gonna.
Mine would cut down the size of the lots, or how many lots he had, and that's, but my biggest concern is to protect the people in Paradise Cove. However we could do it.
Well, I think if we do the lot size, if we ask about the lot size and reduce it from 9 to 6, and we've got the flooding part, that means those lots facing Paradise Cove will have more density, or more impervious surface, I should say, not density. And then you rely on the floodplain people to do their due diligence and work it out the water, taking into account what's already here on the other side of the road.
Josh, can you confirm to us these pipes that are under Paradise Cove Boulevard that have some water flow? This new development, you're not going to cut off any of that water flow, right? The water coming off of Paradise Cove will continue to come off of Paradise Cove?
Yeah, no, we won't be touching Paradise Cove, but, you know, we're working within the limits of our property.
This is the commercial, and this is the residential. Is that, am I right?
Yeah,
Is that the way I read that?
yes.
Okay. All right, are we, now, let's get back, yes, ma'am, Ms. Chapman.
I got a question that you already, okay, so I'm understanding that Paradise Cove Boulevard is now a public road,
Correct,
right?
that's correct.
Okay. What rules, for lack of a better word, exist during their construction, which will take a while, a lot of equipment, et cetera? What can we do to, I mean, I would think there'd be some way to enforce any kind of construction to stay on their property and not destroy or clog up Paradise Cove Boulevard. Does that make sense? You
Well, we
understand
won't,
my
we're
question?
not gonna, I mean, you people that live there are entitled to get to your homes. It's not gonna be, I mean, the construction of whatever's done there will be no different than, you're talking about a house construction? Is that what you
I just
mean?
know there'll be materials and vehicles, et cetera.
Right.
And I was just, inquiring minds want to know on, do they have, can they use that public road to deposit or store their
No,
vehicles?
no.
Because that's what was going on for a while.
It's a public road and they
I
can
know I
get used.
personally just went out and said, excuse me, can you use your road over there and not ours? So I just didn't know what rules to follow, you know, a lot of times the developers come in, but you've got individual people that go, they take the path of least resistance. So it's easy. So I just wanted to know what.
It's a
you know,
public
I don't
road
wanna
and it's the
misspeak.
same, it's the basic rules of just being a good neighbor and you don't go over there and just block the road and they're not entitled to do it.
You could condition your development order for the whole site, if they not use that road, will be coming down and off all over the site. Individual home construction later on,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to use Paradise Code for
Sure.
those handful.
Well, they use it for the home construction on the other side of the road. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to use it for the new side. So that's, all right, so we can come, is there anybody else? So I'll leave that, okay. I guess Mario, the question, I'm gonna look at you, do you know what to tell them?
Mayor,
Do we have a sort of a consensus so that we're satisfied?
Based on what I'm hearing, if I can get a consensus of reducing the number of lots from 9 to 6, if that's a consensus, and I'm looking for.
Yeah,
for
does anybody object to that? Okay, we're gonna make that one.
Lot 28.
If we can do that, what we can do is conditionally approve the or the preliminary plat to modifying Paradise Cove to be reduced from 9 parcels to 6 parcels.
Okay.
Put that back on Dewberry's plate, and if the council is all acceptable with that, then he would be released to do his development order based on those guidelines. If we want to add a road or anything else, then we have to get to those other caveats. But right now, the one consensus thing that I've heard is going from 9 to 6.
All right, so if everybody's comfortable with that, then we can send that, we can make that a stipulation under, like you say, a preliminary, a preliminary acceptance till we hear back. He may say, no, I can't do that.
But if he says okay, then he can move on to the development order.
I'm good with that.
I'd rather see it. I'd rather, before we give it to him, I like to see it, but I would, another concern I got, I thought we were still on, is parking for the people, and he had something in there about the boats, but, I can go over on 8th Street and look at them people, and I tried to park in some of their parking places. It's not that easy. I believe they do need parking for, if you have 2 people at your house, at one of these 50-foot houses, and you have a third car, that third car has to park in the road. That road is half blocked. I believe he needs to have a designated place for parking. And I read in the thing, he said HOA wasn't gonna let them have boats. That's hard to believe. But I do believe he needs a place designated for parking. For the overflow of parking that people come to see, to keep you from blocking the road. In case you had to come down that road, you didn't have to go around them, somebody's cutting the grass. I don't like doing that. I don't think we should block the road.
Josh, this sidewalk system, does it have a regular elevated curbs with it?
It does not, well, on the road itself, we actually have an inverted crown, or we're gonna propose an inverted crown, but again, the questions that we're asking right now is stuff that we would actually do when we get to the development order stage. I mean, until we're past this preliminary plan approval, we're reluctant to do a lot of design, until we get this ironed out, but, we would be looking at probably an inverted crown system to transfer that stormwater
Jerry, with due respect, that's not what the land development regulation says.
I know that.
So we can't have a land development regulation that regulates parking and then us say, well, I know that's what it says, but we want you to have more parking. We can ask them, but I don't think we have any grounds to just say, now, Rick can help me here, but I mean, we got into this several years ago with somebody about the parking thing, and
I agree.
And at that time, the legal thing was, look, if you wanna change your parking, you better go back to your land development regulation and change your parking rule.
Yeah, there would need to be some independent reason other than you just want more parking, because you've set a standard for the amount of parking spaces required. In changing the lot arrangement, having a few less lots, you've stated multiple reasons that justify that.
That wider lot at 75 feet will allow for some additional parking, so
What,
that change is.
but that's just on that one street. What I think Jerry's referencing all the interior lots and how that's gonna, I just don't know,
And say,
I don't know.
if they run them out, and I don't know either, and I know what you're saying about the LDR, but, and it's probably we need to change, but, and this is my first one here, and I've been over there and looked at 8th Street at that parking, and on the weekends, and I know LDR says it, but that's not right. Be blocking the roads. I think the city ought, well, I know we can't, like, when I say ought to, that wasn't the right word, but I just believe there ought to be more parking here so we can keep the streets open. And we have to go back and change the LDR, whatever we got to do. The way we always done things, to me, I think we need to make some changes. I don't think this is not, and we ain't got to make them do nothing, but not, at least telling them, and I'd like to have more parking designated in this subdivision.
But I know it'll be very congested. I agree with going back to 6 across here on Paradise Cove. The places there on 8th Street, the parking in there is ridiculous. Half the time there's boats and trailers sitting on 8th Street on the side of the road.
Yep.
If people have 2 vehicles, they don't have room to park a golf cart. And it looks like this is gonna be the same way.
Interiorly, I agree. I mean, it has that potential.
Yeah.
But he does say that in the, he talks about the boat thing, I mean, now that's an enforceable, I mean, you see what he says about it. They're not gonna allow that. Now that's not on 8th Street.
No.
Meaning it's not in writing is my point.
Right.
Yeah, this looks like it will have a homeowners association that usually will self-police themselves, so.
Yeah. So,
Well, if it's completely residential, I can see what you're saying. But if it's rental, people's gonna come down for a week, they got a boat.
well,
They gonna go
I understand, but, I mean, they got a guy there in the green uniform, that's what they do.
Yeah,
I mean,
they gonna have.
you love me, Marty, don't you? I can tell. But, I mean, that's our options here. We know parking has been, I mean, in Mexico Beach is, that's an age old, but we certainly, I guess, why don't we just put in there to address, please explore optional parking. And let's just, and I don't know anything else to do there. We certainly can't tell him now that you gotta have 3 spots instead of 2, I know
I
that.
agree, I
You know,
can
problem,
see,
we can't do that, but
I
we
don't
can,
mind the 2, but I want the overflow parking to be designated somewhere in this drawing that I can see, for me.
I know,
That's
but you
just me.
realize we don't have, we don't address that. You follow what I'm saying? We don't address it.
I know.
Okay. All right, are we ready to move on? Have we whipped that one down? All right, Mario, are you good? I mean, are you,
Or
tell me what we're doing, we're gonna talk about,
Yeah,
we're gonna
I
make
need an
suggestions about
approval or-
parking? We're gonna, oh yeah, then, okay, so we, if Chair will entertain a motion to accept the preliminary plat with
Stipulation.
stipulations, there you go, we have the, from 9 to 6 lots on Paradise Cove, and we have parking over, or we'll call it additional, please address additional parking outside, somewhere in the subdivision. And I say please, simply that's a nice way of seeing if that makes any difference. Is there anything else? Does the chair will entertain a motion for the approval of preliminary plat with those two stipulations?
Jerry's yours, go with it.
Mm-mm, I'm no all the way. All the way, I'm no.
Okay. Well, I make a motion to accept the, 715th Street plat with stipulations of parking and changing the lots on Paradise Cove from 9 to 6.
Have a motion on the floor, is there a second? Is there a second? If there's no second, I think we're putting the city, I think we're putting the city in jeopardy. But if there's no second, motion dies.
Can I ask a question before we do
Yeah, I
that?
was waiting, I mean, there's,
So we don't, if we don't allow this, we're in jeopardy of getting, some legal issues, right?
Well, you may see them just modify their plan and try again, or you could see the owner say, hey, you've got all these rules in your land development code, what's the point if you're not gonna follow them, and I'll file a lawsuit. Either one, I don't know, it's a rolling dice.
well, he's invested in this. And I'm not for, I mean, I want us to be, but I mean, when we have people that we're serving and they come to us and they look at the rules and they go through the expense of what they've done, and then the city says, look, we just don't like that, we're not gonna vote for it. I mean, you could rest assured that's not serving, it's not being very serving to me. But if nobody wants to second, I'm ready to move on. We've done this long enough. We got a long agenda. We're
So
gonna sit here and think about it.
If we don't second it,
It dies.
it dies and he has to come back with something different, or what?
Or any one of you can make a different motion. But certainly you've got adopted standards for a reason, and the public wants to be able to rely on those standards.
Now, I'm gonna call, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Okay, motion dies for lack of a second. Moving on.
Y'all messing up.
But,
You got your opinion now.
I know, I use it too.
I do too.
I'm just afraid we're not going by.
all right, Mario, you can tell him, I mean, go tell him, we don't want it. All right, moving to resolution 20-22. This is a Dewberry task order for the east and west jetties. Mario, if you would, please,
Yes, sir.
or Josh, or whoever's on the line.
I can give a short version, and if need be, Josh can elaborate. Basically, I think it was about 3 meetings ago, we mentioned that through FEMA, that we're approved to go ahead and hire the engineers and the architects to start designing work, so that when we go after the big, the construction work, we actually have drawings to go after. So staff went to Dewberry and they put together a proposal for that jetty. That price is $127,000 to do not the full-blown design, but enough design that we can truly put this out and get a good firm price for the jetty. And they've hired a consultant that is working for Dewberry. That consultant is here if there are any questions. That consultant currently provides all the beach renourishment data and is familiar with the hydrology of our regions.
This is a FEMA project, you probably said that.
This is a FEMA project, yes, sir. And this, if this is approved, that $127,000 is within the scope that our FEMA consultants have told us should be reimbursed.
I know.
Should be.
Should.
All right, well, everything with FEMA should. Everything,
Or maybe.
or maybe, yes. But the choices are, if we're not gonna get a penny if we don't move forward. So, Chair will entertain a motion or open the floor if there's any questions on Resolution 20-22, which is the engineering services for the east and west jetty. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
I make a motion to read Resolution 2022 by title only.
Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Ms. Lindsay, please do.
Resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving a task order with Dewberry Engineers, Inc. for professional coastal engineering services for the west and east jetties in the City of Mexico Beach for $127,990.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-22.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
All right. Moving on. What is that, 2023, excuse me. That is another task order that deals with the Highway 98 landscaping. Just briefly from my point, to refresh everyone's eye, talked to multiple people at DOT and could not, repeat, get where we could not get a landscaping engineer stamped on those plans. So, without, talking about, and still get our $475,000. So, this is what this is about. This is a landscaping project from 8th Street to the dedicated beach, through the dedicated beach all the way to the county line. And I want to just make clear before we even go any further that when we move with this project, that everybody knows how much money we have and don't design us something that we can't afford. Because we just need to know that, they need to know up front. Okay. All right, is there a motion to read Resolution 20-23 by title only?
No, I make a motion to read Resolution 2023 by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Lindsay, please do so.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving a task order with Dewberry Engineers, Inc. for a U.S. Highway 98 landscape restoration for the roadway and dedicated beach, back dune and trough within the City of Mexico Beach for $14,500.
Motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-23.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay, next one is, I put this on here. I think it's time that we take a few minutes. You see my cover sheet. I encourage everyone to ride around town. After the storm on trash, we relaxed those requirements in terms of how we pick up where the location of the cans are, where the location of the rack is. And we Of course, we didn't have many people in town, but ordinance 686 is a very passionate ordinance that was passed based on the requirements that our citizens ask us to practice. The fact that it's been relaxed, I thought it was appropriate that we bring it to the table to ensure that I'm maybe not the only one that thinks that we need to do something different, because, I mean, what we're doing now, which is relaxed, ordinance 686. We know that our people on the truck do not like that. I think that's fairly common knowledge. Some of the things we did early on after the storm was to try to help them out. But we're gonna have a trashy town if we don't enforce the ordinance. And you can just ride around town and you can see trash racks, some very elegantly built. Many of them in the right of way. You can see some scrap 2x4s thrown together, thrown out by the road. You can see trash cans out by the road. You can see just what our citizens didn't want. So, I open it up not to get into, I mean, the ordinance is clear what should be done. We don't allow trash racks on the right of way. They are to be on the side or as much out of view. Highway 98, on the new houses that are being built, you can see that many of those trash cans, or just if you just pick 98, many of those houses now have their trash cans and trash racks right out by the pole. They're away from the house. That's the first thing you see when you ride down the road. And I guess I've been through trash wars maybe longer than any of you, I don't know, and I've used that sort of with some levity there, but our people made it clear what they wanted, and the longer we let it go, the more problems it's gonna cause. And while I'm on that subject, and I'm doing the one talking, I think that the blue cans on Highway 98, I understand why they're there. I personally don't like them, I think they're tacky. And I think if we're going to, they ought to be down on the beach where they were before. And if we're gonna start recovering and getting the town that we want back, then I think they need to be moved. So, the purpose of this is for council to give direction on the enforcement of 686. If we think it needs to stay laxed, so be it. But I think the evidence is in town of what it takes, and you can look at those sections that I highlighted, sections 2C and 4.1A and B, and there's really no, I mean, it's pretty clear. I'm through. Anybody else?
Well, one of my only concerns in the past is rentals. You got two things, a rental leaves on Sunday, trash can be out there till Tuesday, whatever, on the road.
It's not supposed to be on the road.
Well, but
That's wherein lies the issue.
But they put them there. Okay, should, and I know in other cities on the beaches, resort areas, the renter is responsible on the day of the trash collection to have it moved to the road. Just like I'm responsible to move mine to the road.
No, well, I'm sorry, but that's not the ordinance. No, you're not. You're not required to. You do it to help our people out. But you're not required to. There's no requirement to move the trash to the road.
Can I ask something right quick that maybe have to do this? You said the trash people didn't like, what were you saying?
Well, because they have to go to the side of the house or
And they
wherever the
did?
can is and pick them up, take them to the truck and take the can back.
Then they didn't like that. They did like that or they didn't?
No.
They didn't like it?
No, they'd
There's a
much
lot
rather
more
have
work.
it right out by the side of the road.
Okay, so they would prefer to have it by the road.
Of course. Of course, it's easier for them. But there is no requirement for any trash to be, any trash that's sitting out there, it's the responsibility of the sanitation department to get the can, empty the can, and put the can back. Now, what has happened is that our residents that are here full-time have helped our guys out by on trash day, take it out there, then they walk out there and get the empty can. But as we get back into the rental business, you're gonna see what you're talking about. You're gonna see where they pile it up out by the road, and it can sit there, and so, if we go by the ordinance, that's not gonna happen. Because the ordinance does not require anyone to take it to the road.
Well, this kind of changes, I mean, I didn't really know that. I'm sorry I didn't know that, but kind of changes when I rode around and looked at stuff, because I thought, you know, the ones that are being built nice are nice looking there. I don't think they're that bad, but they can actually still use those things and keep it by their house. But I think a lot of these people that are putting them out by the road think that that's where they gotta take their trash right to the road.
But see, that requires the sanitation workers, the sanitation supervisor, the people that are on, it requires an effort on the city's part to stop those folks from using the right of way and leaving their cans out there. That's what it's gonna take. It's gonna
So
take
the
the
only way-
code person, the administrator, the sanitation people.
And a website, put it on the
Well, I
website.
mean,
What I'm saying is, I don't think people know it, the reason they're putting them out there
Well,
and building those nice
I
things. I didn't know
I
it.
think it's like the campers. That's what I think. I
Yes.
think it's just, if we don't tell them any different and we accept that as a way of doing business, in this case, we have. In this case, the city acknowledged that we were not going to enforce this, what is called, I call it house side service.
I certainly don't have a problem with telling people that, you know, they can build their trash containers. I like that because it keeps the bears and the raccoons
Sure.
out of it. And they look great, even if because most houses you can see from the road. So I think what we're talking about is an issue that once the people get educated, they're probably, I don't know anybody that'd rather put them at the road than put them at the side of their house. If they knew that, I didn't know that.
Okay?
It's a pain in the rear to me to take the trash cans out, because when we had Sydney, he'd come get them.
Well, that's
And-
because
and-
that's the way it's written. That's the way
Yeah.
the ordinance is designed to do.
Yeah, so, you know, then
We made a slight change right after the storm because of all the debris, and we didn't want people to be going back there because of the debris.
Sure, I understand. I know, that's right. We did change it. We made it, it's,
temporary,
well, it was supposed to be, but you can see what's happening in town
yeah.
by not doing that. So all I'm asking is, if the council doesn't object, I think we should just tell the administrator, he can have his meeting with his sanitation people and the code person, and they're gonna have to go through town and get that stuff moved. It's really not a rocket science. It's pretty simple. Does anybody object to that?
I don't object to that,
Well, you've got ordinance, we need to go by it, or we need to change ordinance.
yeah, so
Exactly. I hope we don't wanna change the ordinance, but if we do, I think we're gonna open up another,
I'm like that, I believe we need to educate though.
Yeah.
I don't believe, and I see what you said, and I always took mine out. Hell, I didn't know that you didn't have to take it
I
out.
thought we had
And
to.
I read this the other night too, and I said, well, I'm a dog. But I believe before we, throw the code enforcement and let Marty Williams go out there with the truck, we throw
Well,
the garbage in the back of his truck, I think we ought to educate the public. a
well,
little bit
then,
about it.
let me make a suggestion. I think that, Laura, you should put something on the development order process. A note, a sheet that goes when people get a building permit or they get a CO, so they don't go and build some elaborate, nice, and you can see them in town. Some people have spent
Yeah,
money. I'm talking about hinges and latches and.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
won't get wet.
You know what I mean? We need something so that those folks just don't do that, but more importantly, we need the sanitation people to report to you that you gotta have more eyes. I mean, they go with that there every day. They could take a note of, I don't mean try to be code people, just simply say, hey, at this address, this is what we got. You know what I mean? We all need to do this together. We can't let them ignore.
I can't imagine anybody having a problem with not having to take their trash to the road and being able to put it, because I don't, you know, even though they're really nice, they're not attractive. They'd be a lot nicer if they were on the side
Well,
of the
that's
house.
the purpose of the ordinance.
And that's, so I'd say,
Okay.
we just let them know and we figure out the best way to let them
And
know.
let them figure out how to get those that have been put out there, how they
Yeah,
want, how to
that's-
get them put back.
Yeah, and I don't think any of them are, that I've seen, they all look kind of movable almost to me, some of them are drove in the ground, but that's not a major problem, I don't
Okay.
think, for moving them.
Well, now, the trash bin in the proper place at the house still needs to be hinged where they don't have to lift them completely out of it or whatever. And trying to.
Well, that's why they got 32 gallon, that's another thing, you know, we helped them out, we said, the ordinance says 32 gallon,
Can't be smaller than
Cans.
15.
smaller than 15, so that they don't get these big, huge
Right.
60 gallon cans
Right.
to do that with.
Well, most of the ones I've seen have hinges on the front, so they slide them right out.
But they can deal with that, I mean, there's
Yeah.
gonna be circumstances where they can educate the people, but I think we need to start getting all that stuff back where it's supposed to be and deal with it. So, that's the only reason to put it on here.
I'd like to take the time in my neighborhood to ride through and show them this. I have a bigger fish to fry this week, but I'd like for me to just ride around and show them that this is what we got to do instead of, you know, I don't want to enforce it. But I do see we do need to make a change, but.
You don't wanna enforce it?
I do.
Oh, okay.
But I think we need to, but I think we do need to educate first. Plus, and you brought up something about I know it might look tacky to some people, but the garbage can serves the purpose alongside the beach, on the road. It really keeps the garbage and the trash off the beach, and that makes the people at least pick it up and on the way out throw it
Well,
there.
what about if they were down where they used to be before the storm? Well, they were down on the beach
Yeah.
instead of up on the highway. To me, that's where they ought to be.
And it really doesn't have, I mean, they were picking them up in a pickup truck, right?
Yeah.
Cause
Well, they had a tractor with
Well,
a
a tractor.
dumpster on the back
That's
of it,
right.
and, or a
That's
pickup
right.
truck, they had different ways of doing it, but I think if we're gonna tell Frank that he can't have his,
Yeah.
then, I'm just saying, I think if they were down on the beach, that's where they have been for years, so,
I don't have a
Anyway.
problem with having them back down on the beach. I actually think that's
See
better.
what Tom has.
what you got, Tom?
Mayor, I was just gonna address that. We did used to have them on the beach. The reason we put them up the side of the road, number one, the tractor got crushed by the water tank that fell. We lost our tractor and our trailer that we used to pick up the beach with. And when Andy come aboard, we talked and discussed it, and by moving to the road, it was the garbage truck to pick it up. It was taking 2 people 3 days a week to go down about 3 hours to pick up that trash out. That was the reason it was moved, just so y'all clarified it.
So it was a lot more time for them to go down to the beach.
Yes, sir. We had 2 people went down on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then the sanitation crew came in on Saturday and Sunday and made a run down on the beach. And it was talked about the driving the tractor and the trailer down on the beach, especially turtle season, trying to keep as much beach traffic off the beach. And that was the reason that the decision was made then to put them up by the road. So it was easy sanitation now, just take the truck, pull up there, empty the can, and go on.
So it's a lot of money difference.
Yes, sir.
A lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of overtime.
Yes, sir.
How much overtime was involved in all that?
The weekend was about 8 hours. Yeah, probably 8 hours on the weekend, and.
And that was every
and-
weekend.
And during the middle of summer, when the beach was full packed, like it is now, it was about a 3 hour, the trailer, the big garbage trailer that we picked it up with had a dumpster on the back of it,
At about midpoint, you had to pull off the beach, have the garbage truck dump the dumpster, put it back on the trailer, then to get the second half of it. So there's a lot of trash on the beach. I mean, it really was. So that was, like I said, I just want to clarify, that was the reason. There'd be hardly any way to take a pickup truck and go, you'd be all day
Well,
long.
don't we have a tractor?
No, we got the big John Deere,
Well, I see them using the beach rake, so they must be have something.
Yeah, the New Holland, the blue New
Yeah,
Holland.
New Holland
that we
was a
have
little smaller.
on pull that.
more personal.
But you're saying that when they were on the beach, there was more trash being left on the beach? Now that they're up at the road, people are being cleaner about
Well, and it's hard to explain because when the cans were on the beach, everybody put the metal tent frames and stuff, they
Right.
piled everything up at the garbage can.
Right.
When you went down, it wasn't just necessarily emptying the can, you were picking up umbrellas, all that. It just seems like, and it may be because we don't have that many people back here yet, but it seems like with the cans up on the road, it's been less headache. We're still picking up tent frames off the beach, you know, with the limo trays, stuff like that, but not as much as we were back when the cans were down there. Whatever the council wants to do is what we'll do. I mean, it's not an issue one way or another. That, I just want to explain, that was the reason the cans were brought up to the beach. It would be easier for the truck to get them, and if we didn't have a tractor and a trailer, we lost that during the storm to go, you know, go back on the beach. That was the reason for it.
Well, is it the blue cans or is it just the cans themselves?
Just
Yeah, they
the
have
trash
good looking
cans are up
cans.
on the road instead of down on the beach where they were. And we picked them up there for years, used to have racks, and then we had barrels, and then we had, for me, when we landscaped that area, I just, I don't see any reason to have them there.
Well, I say a lot more convenient of them picking it up and saving time.
Oh, it is,
Driving
it's the
right
same
by
as
it,
this
too.
ordinance, it's the same
Uh,
thing of, it's easier for them to not have to do this ordinance. Just depends on what you want it to look like.
I say we leave them there till we make other arrangements or get a tractor or can come up and, get Tommy and them come up with a way to pick it up. So I mean, if he wants to put them back at the beach, you know, that's gonna make a little something different. We got to come up with some way to pick it up. I mean, so I'd say let's just leave them like it is until we can find a way to put them back down at the beach.
Good
that's
enough,
possible.
let's move on.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. All right, Mario, you understand the ordinance, how the council feels, we ready to make that happen? Okay, thank you. Number 8, that's Mario.
This is something that we've had the benefit of since the storm, and there's been a grant, and we've had extra employees out here, in Mexico Beach helping keep us all clean. We've had, 6 laborers that have helped keep Mexico Beach clean that Tommy runs with his crews. And then we also have the benefit of having, Skylar in the office, and we used to have another young lady there. This grant has run its course, and it's gotten one extension, and it just got another extension because it actually died on the 23rd, and they got an extension to the 31st. And the reason that I'm talking to you now is there is a cost if this grant does not get extended. They're very hopeful that by the 31st that they can get this grant extended another 40 months or 4 years. I'm not 100% sure the next duration. If there is a lull between that grant being extended and the 31st, the question is, does council want to keep that labor force here and working for the city for whatever time period that is? This came in fresh this morning, or I would have given it to you earlier. Basically, if we wanted to, and please look at the bottom row where everything is highlighted in yellow. If we wanted to keep the entire workforce that is currently here serving with us, it would cost about $4,194 a week to keep those people here. If we wanted to keep individual people here, you can see the prices for the individual people. Not saying that we have to do this, not saying that we're gonna need to do this, but in an abundance of caution, if the council wishes for these workers to remain here, if on the 31st the money does not come through, we would basically let all 7 of these people go home. If council wishes to add one person or another, I would need, approval to keep that one person or another. So that's why it's broken out. You can see Skylar is in here, that's $702 a week. And we could keep her here a week or 2 or 3 or 4, or keep her here permanently, but that's the ballpark figure of what it would cost to keep her here with the management group still maintaining some of the payments.
The 702, is that benefits and all?
That's everything that we would pay the grant organizer, so that they in turn pay her, and part of that $702 goes for workman's comp and insurance and things like that. She would net, I believe it's $13 an hour. But the cost for her is $17.55 an hour when you throw all the other costs associated.
Mr. Mario, also, Ms. Gazelle, Devin, they texted me right before the meeting started. Actually, the workers that work on my end, we would be down to just 3 now. One of them's out for COVID-19. Another one actually quit yesterday, is not coming back, I think found another job, permanent job, possibly. So technically, I've got 3, there would be 3 of my side if you decided to do that, not 7.
I already registered, I already choose the spreadsheet.
And you had a couple of those folks that you really liked the way they worked, right?
Yes, actually the 3 that's remaining, that's here now working, are dang good workers. Even the mayor complimented, they're the ones cleaning the sidewalk, all the ditches on 15th Street. I mean, they have been a total asset to the city of Mexico Beach. I mean, they're hard workers, they don't lay out of work, they're here every day. Of course, they don't get paid if they don't work, so, but I would highly recommend them if any way possible.
And so Dave Lebrano will not, what does that mean?
They were asked if they would be willing to reduce their hourly fee to help the time period, and he did not accept the reduction.
Okay, so he's gone now.
No, I mean, if the grant goes away, then yes, he goes away if y'all don't approve it. But if we wanted to keep Dave Lebrano, we would end up paying him, or paying the company $22.65 to keep him on board, versus some of the other employees that were at his same pay grade would only be $20.72. And I know that I've just confused the daylights out of this spreadsheet. That was not the intent, but it's just an order of magnitude thing. If the city wants to.
Well, what's your recommendation? I mean, where does the city have this money to find the, I mean, I don't really.
That is the $10,000 question, is does the city have the funds?
I think we hope the grant comes through.
I do too.
And that's all we can do. I mean, we don't have those extra positions approved.
The one position that I would like to, for council to consider is Skylar's position, because the front desk needs to be manned by multiple people, because there's not always somebody at the front desk. Somebody has to go to the bathroom, somebody has to go to lunch, somebody has to go pick up mail, go to the bank. This is a fee that we could absorb a little bit easier with the transition of Jenny and Monique and Lindsay. I think there's a little bit of flexibility within our funds to carry her for some time period, and as soon as this grant comes back online, that she would then come back online. I hate to lose people that Tommy has. I don't know if and when, we will know enough within the budget to know whether or not we could keep all these additional people. Right now, we're just having a time, you know, just getting our arms around the current budget, let alone projecting additional people into the budget. But I would suggest if we need to float Skylar for a while, to float Skylar for a while.
How many guys do you have regular, Tommy?
You what now?
How many guys are on our payroll, not on the grant, that you have?
Yeah, I have eight, 9, but 19 total. Yeah, 19 plus permanent.
Permanent, that's water, sewer, and,
There's 9 utilities and 8 public works.
okay.
Okay, so 8 in public works.
I think that's really a question for the budget.
Yeah, it's,
I mean,
it has to
if we
be.
move into that, again, we don't have any, we have so many approved slots. And if we want to increase that, then that'd be up to us, and if these folks are available, that would be great, but,
We'll propose that then in the budget as we do our workshops.
okay.
And
Go ahead.
Career Source, that's a temp service?
Yes, that is.
Okay, and so the grant is paying the temp service for these people to help us. And we don't have any indication of how likely we are to get grant support?
It's just like y'all mentioned, FEMA is, you know, that's what we hope for. They have, you know, they've had this grant going this whole time, and they gave us a scare probably about 3 or 4 months ago that it was about to drop, and they made a call to one of the senators, and all of a sudden Trumbull approved it, and it went for another 4 months. Well, we've reached that 4-month mark. It was supposed to die on Thursday of last week. They extended it to the 31st of this month, and again, they're hopeful that between now and the 31st that we get extended again, but if it doesn't get extended, I need to be able to give direction to staff on what we're doing with these employees, so.
Well, does anybody want to do do we want to do anything? We're just gonna wait, on any of these people? What's the, are you recommending that we, help me out, are we trying to get
If we can keep Skylar, I would like to keep Skylar's, otherwise the front desk staff is undermanned.
Yeah.
Alright, so that would be roughly $3,000 a month, give or take.
Yes,
I'm just,
rough order is about $3,000 a month. Good, and speaking of the, angel, she's here, not the devil.
alright.
Hi. Hey.
Well, hello.
I was trying to get here faster, sorry. So, I'm part of QLM, so that's who is doing the employer record for this. And I'm listening to you guys. I love listening to you guys. So. what-
Your ears hurt?
Huh?
Do your ears hurt?
Oh, never, never. And I love it. I love this.
Your name again?
I'm Giselle.
Okay,
Giselle, Mark's wife.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. Can't recognize me without my mask on.
That's right.
So the grant, what happened was the grant was originally, started with a 1-year grant through Career Sources, the grant holder. Then they extended it for 6 months, then they extended it for another 3 months. This time they're going for a 5-year grant. 5-year grant means more investment, means more time, means more, scrutiny by the federal government. So they're working on getting this, they're asking lots of questions. On the 20th, last Monday, the drop didn't happen for the new money. They were able to get a little bit of extra money from Career Source Chipola, which is the Mariana area, to be able to catch us up for this last week. The 31st is the last day for the workers that you guys have. Everybody has about 96 workers in total for this area, Gulf and Franklin County here in Mike.
Right.
I kind of personally want to do, don't know why. So, they're hoping, they're very, very hopeful that at the very maximum, the furlough will last until the 20th of August. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had that information.
Okay.
That's kind of where we're looking at. If you guys can't float them, I understand, I know where the budget is. I'm personally invested in you guys and you know that.
Right.
What the workers can do is apply for unemployment. Mario and I had spoke, one of his concerns was when we have good workers, and I know that Tommy has a few really jam up workers, they can't hold off. Unemployment is not always reliable, and of course that extra money has been dropped by Congress, so they don't get it. that's kind of where we are at this point in time. And, with the help of my boss, who's the CFO of my company, we came up with this number. The, laborers, graciously, unanimously took a $1 pay cut, cause on the grant they get $15 an hour. So they're taking a $1 pay cut on theirs to make 14. They just agreed because they love working here. And, I didn't ask Skylar because she was already just making 13. However, it can be something maybe that can be asked of her. And then my boss is taking something, his cut is just to break even. I'm not even sure if there's enough to really pay me, he's paying out of pocket because he wants to keep these workers going. And he wants to just kind of
Thank you.
float everything. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, Skylar, we were talking about her, Mario is asking for 1 month. To add her for a month to see where we go, and am I right, isn't that what you said?
Yes, yes, sir.
I got discombobulated here. All right,
And
so,
Giselle mentioning that it's till August 20th, that's actually 3 weeks, so it's 700 times 3, so that's a little bit more manageable.
I'm for it.
I mean, the little girl, if you walk in there, you know,
She
the
does.
last lady had to go to the bathroom,
I got
that
it.
they all, nobody. So, and, you know, we finally got it open. If this would go 3 weeks, let's at least
All
go
right,
for 3 weeks.
so we're good with that?
I'm good
We-
with that.
We authorize you then to extend that one, and the rest of them, unfortunately,
And if Monique and Tommy and I can work some magic in the next couple days, I'll come
Yeah,
back to you
there you
and
go,
see what we can do.
there you go.
But for right now.
right now,
I don't
that's
have-
the way it is, okay.
And there is still a chance that we'll have some sort of anniversary date, and if the grant comes through, then none of
There you
this
go,
will
and all
matter.
that'll be a mute point, and we hope that we do, because the grant has been,
It'd be
I'm
great.
sure for us and all the communities, it's been a very, I mean, it's been great. We've gotten used to it,
Yes, we have. And
but they are good, and that's the good thing. Okay,
Welcome, Senator.
welcome, sir, that's right, thank you.
Mayor, MP.
Mayor, on the Welcome Center, we did challenge our contractor to see if he could reduce the price by a good bit, and I'll give him credit, he was able to reduce his price by $85,300. Most of those things, you know, do make some changes to the building. I'm not sure that you all want all of them, I don't know if you want any of them, but we still have a delta of about $50,000. Please excuse me, when I gave you that $50,000 delta in the last meeting, we did not take it into account architects, engineers, and inspections. So it was 50 plus 80, so it was $135,000 problem. So when the contractor got to this 85, we still have a $50,000 problem. I have asked the architects if they would reduce some fees. I've asked CDC if they could provide some fees, and I've not gotten any commitments from them, mainly because they have to meet with their board before they can make any commitments to us. At this point, we've got several options. One is to put this thing back out to bid. Another one is to hold it for another couple weeks, or and what I'd like to do is, if I could sit maybe with y'all and see what you feel of some of these reductions, to add those as deductive alternates, so that when we do put this out the street, if we still need to get our monies down, we still have some options to keep the money, you know, coming closer to where we hope to be. So.
I'm for rebidding it.
I am too. That's too
I
much
just-
money for us.
I just think we need to try it.
Yeah, no. I had a local contractor.
Before we skinny the building down, which is already, I mean, it's pretty, I know when you're looking for money, some of those things on that list become fluff, but they're really pretty basic reductions, in my opinion. I'd rather just bid the thing, rebid it, and just see what we get. And if we get back if we're in the same ballpark that we got from the other ones, then, I mean, we'll know that's the market. But until we do that, I'm not gonna be satisfied.
Cause it was how much? $430,000?
$431,000,
Yes, sir.
1,180 square foot bill.
And that was how much a square foot?
$360.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Now, are we limited as to who qualifies to be able to bid on this stuff? I mean, we gotta have bonds and all that
They
junk.
have to have a bond. And again, that's our charter, I believe, and
Yes.
also the fact that this is FEMA, they've got stipulations on those types of things.
So that limits our
Bond
field.
is required.
That limits
But
our
again,
field.
Well, there's
even a
options
small-
around the bond, yeah.
Yeah, you can, your bond fee is higher if you've never been bonded, but there are ways of even residential contractors getting a bond. But it costs money.
I don't think under the FEMA rules we can waive it. Under normal state law, you can only waive bonds if it's under $200,000 for construction.
Let's get them to do.
All right, so, if we moving on, we're just gonna rebid, is that what you wanna do? Is that-
I think
is
we
that
need
what
to.
I saw a lot of
That's
hands? All right, let's
really
rebid it tomorrow, and let's just,
Okay.
let's see what we can come up with.
Totally agree.
All right, moving to, let's see what we got. Okay. All right, Nick, you got one item or several items? You're up.
I do have one item today. Yesterday, our FEMA consultant Atkins was going through their files and checking on the status of all the contracts, and they noticed that my contract had an issue. Usually city attorney contracts don't have a set time frame on them, but they're usually terminable at any time. City's unhappy, they just end the contract. Mexico Beaches is a little unusual. It initially was a 2-year contract with a 2-year extension, and that extension ended September of last year. So what we need to do, assuming that you want to keep me on board as your attorney, just to clean up the files to ensure that we continue to do well getting reimbursement for some of my hurricane-related time, is just do another extension. And the reason this came about is early on after the hurricane, the majority of what I was doing, probably 3/4 of it, was hurricane-related, so Atkins was putting in my time for reimbursement from FEMA. These days it's less, but it's probably still close to half. And this is really to make sure we have a good clean file to avoid questions or objections. I've got a 1-page resolution that's just a 2-year extension, it'll be 2 years from today, but it clarifies that you can terminate me anytime you want. So it's somewhat of a formality instead of something that has a lot of substance, because there's no guarantee in 2 years. Let me pass this around. I've also got the original contract. If anybody wants to see that.
Is this the part where we can maybe get you to renegotiate, Nick?
You can try. I will say that for today, the 5 hours this morning was a pretty good deal for you.
Oh, mercy.
Did it say on here how much you make an hour? I make $13 a day.
So for these public meetings, it's a flat fee of $350. So that includes the drive over all the time here and drive back. For normal work away from these meetings, $195 an hour.
We got to have, I reckon.
None of that's changing though. This is just to have something in the file that's showing that the contract's not expired.
So we're extending, this resolution extends through July 28th of 2022, which is the 2-year extension period, is that?
It'd be 2 years from today, but
Yeah.
you can adjust that if you want to do something different.
All right, what are we got the FEMA stuff, we got the lapsed contract based on that we just never officially adopted even though it, I guess it says in the original contract that, like you said, there's a 2-year time, then a 2-year extension.
And it said that it could be extended afterwards.
Okay.
If
So
discretion
it
council.
states that that's,
In short, the contract talked about a 4-year term, and we're in the 5th year right now.
okay. All right, so it opens the door. Anybody want to talk about it, Nick? That's just how to do it.
I'm not gonna talk about it, but I would not wanna try to change a horse in midstream. Nick's been with us the whole time through, the hurricane out and after. I say go with it.
I agree. If there's no other comments, we'll entertain a motion to read resolution 20-24.
Make a motion to read resolution 20-24 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion second. Discussion, comments? Ms. Lindsay, please do so.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, retroactively extending its engagement with the law firm of Hand, Arundel, Harrison, Sale, LLC for 2 years through July 28th, 2022.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-24.
Second.
Have a motion second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move to department reports. Mario, I'll get back to you.
Yes, sir.
Financial, I think we probably can just wait till when we start our meeting. No reason to do anything different unless you.
Good.
Anybody? You have anything, or you gonna hold off till we start again? Okay. All right, Marty, you still awake back there? What you got?
Oh, we need, nothing major reports, sir. We had, one side-by-side stolen off the beach down at the beach rental place and everything the other night, but we're checking on it. We're getting video when we can, and we're trying to investigate and find out where it went to. But other than that, we don't have any major stuff going on.
Side by side.
Hector's
They found it.
is.
I saw one on his trailer.
Who's gonna put they unloaded it up there.
What is it?
Where'd they find it?
They haven't found it,
I come by, before I come to the meeting, and Hector had Al's trailer up there, and his side back, green side was on the back of that trailer.
he was talking about going by a new one. I hadn't heard that he
Ooh.
recovered it yet.
I don't know. I damn if it looked like a new one.
So Al-
Officer Smith knows.
So you saying Al took it?
I don't know, I wasn't sure where he was going with that. All right, but everything else is moving pretty good.
Everything else is good. All the guys got their new pickup trucks. And
Yeah, I saw that, noticed that, good, okay. Any questions for our Lieutenant Williams?
I like to put numbers on the truck so I can tell them apart.
There's numbers on the trucks.
Where they at?
I won't tell you.
You gotta see the back of it.
Thank you. I can't tell who's coming, who's going. That's where you want it though, right?
I mean, you just have to deal with it.
Yes, you do. Let's go.
We don't know which vehicle you're in either.
I
You bought parts in a pickup truck and then your neighbors all you operate with,
Okay.
so we're trying to.
Let's move on now.
Yeah, we better start moving. All right, building, do we have any report? Gina's, I don't know if she has anything to report, she's COVID. So,
Again, right now we have, 2 people out of, the building department that are out due to being exposed to COVID.
okay,
So we're shorthanded on that, but I can tell you that I think I received about 6 development orders since I've been sitting here, so I have 6 things to
Good.
review when I get out of here now.
all right,
to push
well,
forward.
we'll bypass that, I don't,
So they don't have COVID, they were in contact
They
with
were
somebody.
exposed.
They were exposed to it, so they're just playing it safe and working from home, so it's not that we're
It's still working out.
100% without them, it's just they're working from home. Put it this way, those development orders would not have come through if Gina hadn't been working on from the house.
Good girl.
all right.
And Sandy is here, he's just behind you. We skipped out on Sandy.
We can't do that, yeah, Sandy, sorry, what you got?
No, everything's pretty much as it should be. We had a couple of nasty incidents in the last couple of weeks. But, you know, with, Lake County Sheriff's Office and ourselves and, Gulf County EMS, they were sent on their way. I hope they are recovering nicely. You know, we're keeping ourselves fully in mind. We had two out there back in again. One of them tested negative and the other was a contact, and the contact didn't test positive, so we're good to go. So at the moment everything is good. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Sandy, because when he had an officer that was out, because typically we don't have a whole lot of replacement power, he came in and served some extra time, to fill in for the officer that was out for a while, so thank you.
And also, I don't know if we've already talked about it, but he donated his tarp that Tommy and those guys put up at the fish station, so
Nice.
thank you.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, it was something that we used for the mini pumper that was outside. We bought it ourselves with funds in house. It was sitting up here not being used. It made perfect sense to use it.
So thank y'all.
Good. Thank you very much. All right, code. I see Kathy's not here, but I have something to bring up that I'm gonna be honest with you, a little confused, but I'm gonna bring it up because she suggested that I do. I asked at the last meeting about the 15th Street camper that's inside the white fence. And when I asked her about it today, she said, well, she went by to talk to the lady, or the household, and there's another camper in the front yard, and I said, well, what are we doing? She said, well, she says she uses it when her grandchildren come. And I said, but that's a violation. That we don't just set campers up in the backyard for like a second, like an extra bedroom. And she said, well, maybe then the council needs to give me direction. And I'm confused about that because I thought, she said there's a lot of campers that do that. So.
But she's talking about the one that's in the front yard or the backyard.
Well, she's talking about, I guess for me, we sat here and we sort of, I thought we took what I considered a strong position about trying to not let the campers become permanent. And now the code person is saying, I guess she doesn't, if somebody tells them, well, it's set up, they just use it when the grandkids come. Well, that's not, you can't do that. You can have a camper stored at your house, but not set up for when the grandkids come. You can't do that. So I'm a little bit confused, Mario, but I'm doing what she asked me to do. I don't really even see an issue other than just enforce the rules. But the fact that she told me that, I'm not sure if she's waiting for us to tell her to go enforce the rules. I
will assume that any trailer that is in a yard that is ever utilized is not allowed to be utilized in the yard.
Well, if they have a house, if they have a house and they have.
She needs to put a notice on that house that trailer can be stored, but it cannot be utilized in any way, shape, fashion, or form in the yard, unless it's to rebuild a house or.
It's just enforce the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Is that, am I missing the boat? Am I stepping as the council wanting to do something different here?
I've looked at it 2 or 3 times, and I can see what really Kathy's asking. I can, because the camper in front is for sale. The camper that's in the backyard, when you think about it, is how do we know what she's doing? I know she told Kathy, but we don't know if she's using it. It's a fenced in. You can't see what she's doing with it. How do we know she's not storing it? How do we know? Without her telling Kathy. And I can see Kathy going with us talking to her and telling her the same thing Mario just said. Either you're going to store the camper and not use it. Because anybody can put a camper in the yard and not hook it up now. it's sort of, I mean, I don't know what the lady's doing with it. She can't get it out once she takes the fence down. But,
But she told her what she was doing with it.
I can see why Kathy needs to talk to her, but, if she wouldn't have told Kathy that, how would we know? You can't see the trailer now. You see the
Well,
top of it.
that's why it is just clear that it's such an obvious violation. If we're gonna let people fence in a camper and we can't get to it and say, well, I've just got it stored here, we're gonna have campers, I mean, we're gonna have a mini RV park at their house.
Well, I would think
I
a
mean-
camper would have to have a way in and out.
Of course it
And
should,
not fenced in.
yeah,
But now, in
absolutely.
our ordinance, don't it say it can be used 14 days out
I
of the
think
year?
it's 14 or 15 days that you would allow.
Out of the year.
But this is permanent, and I don't wanna just use this one, there are other places where campers, when I mentioned the one on 7th Street where there was 2 campers, and she said, well, they're visiting, but there's a house there. There's people living in a house and there's 2 campers. If we don't start aggressively dealing with the camper thing, we're gonna just let anybody tell us anything they want and it's gonna be okay to have a camper.
I understand what you're saying there, but again, let's get back to the Maryland. We got 2 campers at the end of Maryland. There's no house, there's no nothing. So you're gonna address one, we gotta address the other.
There's no house.
Yeah.
Their
So we
house
got-
was destroyed. On Maryland. The one that I'm talking about on 7th, there's a house
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
They're living there.
Yeah, I understand what
So
you're saying.
that's not the same thing.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, Lisa. Those people don't have a house. They're using that as their house. They don't have a house.
I know they don't have a house, and one camper is fine, but they've had 2 campers there with people from Alabama and Georgia coming in and living there who have nothing to do with property. The owners.
Okay, well, I'm sure that you have monitored that, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm sure you've monitored it and have great infinite details about it. What I'm talking about is where there's campers at people's homes.
Yeah, I understand. And again,
And if we're not gonna
this
do
was
that-
sitting- If this was sitting in a driveway,
That's
to me,
right.
that'd be a different thing.
That's right.
But to
It
be
would be.
blocked in by a fence, I think that's one of the biggest problems. And then, could we say, okay, well, I got somebody coming next week, just this year. Well, that's usable, but to be put behind a house with fenced in, I don't think is right.
Well, I would hope we wouldn't. I mean, what do we, next person that says, well, I just fenced it in and can't move it, and I'll just use it when I need it. You know,
From a legal standpoint, how do we tell her she can't do that, Nick?
I haven't read up on this ahead of time, but as far as I understand it, you've already got enough in your ordinances to say that this isn't allowed. And if you wanna make it more clear for the world to be more helpful, you could always add another sentence, something along the lines of you cannot store a camper in an area where it can not be readily moved in and out. I mean, you could do
What-
that,
what-
but I don't think you need to. I think you have enough already.
So, wait a minute, what have we got, what are you saying we've got already that protects it, that makes her?
You can't have an ordinance unless it is for your construction and or housing because you lost your house. So the only trailers that are supposed to be here right now are because they're either working with an architect, engineer, or insurance company to build on that site for that household, or it's under construction for that household. So it's strictly housing for
And so,
a house that is missing a.
but this is not the case on this one. They have a house here, and we know that they got it in the fence, and we know what they're doing with it, and we know that that's illegal, because they only got 14 days. So that's what I'm saying. The people that have a camper that don't have a house, and they're using it for the right reasons, that's okay. But this lady, she's selling the one in the front, and she's got a house here, and we know that they got it in the fence, and we know what they're doing with it, and we know that that's illegal, because they only got 14 days. So that's what I'm saying. The people that have a camper that don't have a house, and they're using it for the right reasons, that's okay. But this lady, she's selling the one in the front, that's understandable. But the one in the back,
She needs to get rid of it. Or just close it down and not use it.
or, yeah, but we can't, how do we, that's what I'm saying, how do we know that it's something that we can say, well, you're using it, well, she's already admitted it, do we get her to,
It needs to be moved, seems,
well, that's what I'm saying, how do we make her move it out of the fence?
I think we send her a letter and tell her that, I mean, you can't have it. I'm making the assumption that surely we do not want to allow that situation simply because they're saying
Sets a precedent.
that it's just stored there.
Yeah, it sets a
No, it
precedent.
can't just be stored there. Bobby's right. If you can't get it out and can't get it in, then it's permanent.
Right, yeah, it's permanently in the backyard.
Yeah. And I would hope that wouldn't be something we would want to have. Of course, they got picnic tables around it and umbrellas and it's, I mean, it's just, it's clearly you know, it's an additional bedroom. That's all it is. So if we want that, and the council needs to tell Kathy, the code person, then I suggest we just say, Mario, let's just handle that. It shouldn't have to be here. Personally, I don't even know why but I did it because she didn't seem like she knew, wasn't gonna do anything. And I think she ought to do something.
Point taken.
Uh,
Point taken.
yeah, I agree.
All right, Public Works.
Mayor, I've got a couple things, I put a handout around by everybody, I'll go over all of it, you got it. One thing I did want to mention, we're about 2/3 completed on the road fence going to Wilkes County line, to protect people walking on the dunes, y'all probably seen it as you go
Yeah.
by. Progress is good on that. We got the rest of our leave no trace signs put up, we got to order some more, we lost during the storm. They're all up now, completely across town. Also, we got, last Friday, got the other basketball goal put up over here, so anybody wants to go play basketball now, the court's fully functional. And, one thing Mr. Mario had asked about, last week, we got new walkovers at 9th, 11th, and 13th Street. Those were the three that actually stopped on top of the berms, and we put rope walkway coming off of it, so, you know, somebody wouldn't come off in the middle of the berm and just walk down the middle of the sand dune. So we got all that completed, plus the other stuff that, y'all can look on handouts.
You got it. The only thing I have for utilities is the master lift station, everybody knows was destroyed in Hurricane Michael. It is online, it is functioning on its own, under its own power, its own generator power, there's no more bypass there, it's completely like it was pre-hurricane. So it was turned on 1 year and 9 months to the day, is when it brought it online, so it's up and function like it used to. The auto refill valve for our ground storage tank, everybody knows we've been having problems with that ever since the hurricane. We got some adjustments done on it the other day, figured out there was some issues with the pressure zone on both sides of the tanks. Got it straight down, and it's been functioning for 2.5 weeks, no issue. In auto, everything's going like it's supposed to. And then the last thing I have is everybody knows Oleander was milled, reclaimed. They're starting, I got a meeting Thursday with the contractor to start putting in water pipe for Oleander, so the progress has been made on that. So, that's all I have.
Good. Questions for the Public Works? All right, Dewberry, is Josh gonna give us anything, or we, oh, here we go.
Yeah, he's,
Josh will cover it, since I still cook all Josh, but I have a list.
Josh, you have to go off mute. Good deal.
Thank you.
He's doing that right now.
Well, Josh is getting ready, I did just review your camper ordinance, you're in good shape. You don't need anything different.
So we can go tell her, you gotta move that out of the backyard.
Well, first of all, just before we, do we wanna do that?
I think we should.
and I don't want this to be, it's not just me, but the ordinance is clear, if we want, is that what we want? I assume we do, okay. All right. Are we, Josh, you up?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Some of these items have been covered in the previous agenda items, I'll just get the highlights. The municipal complex, we're complete with the delineation, complete with the field work for the boundary and topographic survey, and I expect to have the AutoCAD file this week. Our next step on that would be, part of our task order is to actually get that concept, the building and the parking roadways actually situated on that site so we can see how it fits within the site, within the city's code with setbacks and such. Sunset Park, we've completed the coastal construction control line survey. We have a kickoff meeting with DAG Architects this Wednesday, to move forward with the actual planning and engineering design of that project. Citywide streets, we had a conference call last week, with the city and the AC disaster in Athens to discuss what we were allowed to do with the areas identified in the DED. After some discussion, what we've decided to do is we're keeping our base plan that identifies the areas just as the DED recommended, but we're moving forward with a plan that will reallocate these areas so we can have complete streets paved instead of having small chopped up areas on some of the streets. We should have a revised drawing with the reallocated areas in the next couple of weeks, of course, that we'll want the council to review prior to advertising the bidding. The city sidewalks and parking, we're continuing to work through the design. We completed the boundary and topographic survey field work for the public parking areas. Should have a CAD file on that as well this week. And we'll begin the redesign of the parking areas as well. Tom spoke about Oleander. The city standards, I think we mentioned that before. We provided Thomas with a copy of those city standards. So unless we have revisions to them, those will be the city standards that, all engineers will use from here on out with any development within the city. I think that's all I have.
Marina? Josh?
The marina is really more a FEMA
Oh, okay.
thing. It's not really, something that Josh has on his plate, and I'll touch on the marina a little bit in a minute.
Questions for Josh? Mario, I got it on DAG on Sunset Park. What, did we approve a task order for them
Yes, sir.
to do a design?
Yes, sir.
We did.
Okay.
Couldn't remember. I thought we did, but I couldn't remember. All right, Josh, thank you very much. There's no questions.
Josh, I'm gonna sign you off. Thank you for being on, and you're more than welcome to follow us on the rest of it. But I'm gonna sign off. Thanks, bye.
All right, Mario, you're up.
Yes, sir. To kick on the issue that Darrell just brought up on the marina, we had a meeting with higher level FEMA, I believe it was Thursday of last week, and basically, instead of going through the 50 some odd projects that we're working on, we focused on 5 projects. One of those is the marina and the boat ramp, which I call that the same project because it was all bid at the same time. Canal Parkway, the water treatment plant, and the dredging. Those were the 5 projects. And when asked, which one is the highest priority, I said, well, Crowder Gulf would like to get paid $13 million, so that's their highest priority. The water treatment plant, we've built most of that work, and we've already expended that money from our own pockets, and we're in need of their monies to get reimbursed so that we can use those monies for other things, so that's a high priority. Canal Parkway is just about 100% complete. We've already got a usable bridge, and we've expended our own money to pay for that, and we still haven't received any money. So those 3 priorities are already projects that are built and done, and we're waiting for reimbursement. So when asked for priorities, those are priorities because we need money to replenish our accounts. On the marina and boat ramp, that question came about because I asked them to kick off the marina in August, and the answer was just a flat out no. when they replied that that project would be ready in December or January, that was just not acceptable, because the last thing I want to do to come back to you is to say that the marina is still under construction during the next snapper season. So we had a interesting meeting with upper management, and they assured us that they would do everything they could to expedite everything that's within this list. And again, the mayor was part of that call, and it felt like it was one of the most forward-moving calls we've had in a while. Again, proof is in the pudding. I can tell you there's 10 times more email traffic than there has been prior to that meeting here in the last 7 or so days coming from the FEMA side. And maybe not so much answering and asking questions, but, you know, helping the process move forward. You can see, and I'll give you all, I'll put a copy of this in your box. To give you an example, the Canal Parkway, that project kicked off in February of 2019. That project is, like I said, it's functionally built. It still needs some striping, it still needs some guardrail, it still needs some replanting for the Corps of Engineers, so it's not 100% complete. But we are working on these projects, and we're pushing them as hard as we can. And I believe that the mayor, having been exposed to the meeting, we expressed our frustration, along with the frustration of, you know, when these projects like the Welcome Center comes in at $360 a square foot, when they use Artis means that says that it should only cost $160 a square foot. All these are very frustrating points, and then the fact that Brett Howard, that's been with us for 49 weeks, can't go over 50 weeks. So once he leaves, we now have to retrain another person that will, about week 30, we're all understanding each other, and on week 50 they go away. So the process is extremely frustrating. We are not the only ones that are going through this level of frustration. I can tell you that Bay County School Board, Tyndall Air Force Base have put together a letter that I have a draft of for the mayor to sign, that will go to FEMA to express our frustrations. Again, not having the continuity of having a person from beginning to end means that we retrain every 50 months, every 50 months, every 50 months. I mean 50 weeks, I wish it was months, every 50 weeks. And that's because of tax law. If they stay here more than 50 weeks, then they lose their residency from their home, where I'm sure they're homesteaded, and they have to come over here. There are ways for the federal agencies to correct that, but without our pressure and telling them how frustrating it is for us to change out everybody after 50 weeks, they won't do anything. So we're hopeful that some of these letters do reach the right person, and we do reach out and talk to our senator and our congressman to help push these things along. But that project has that level of frustration. Along the lines of FEMA, I do have this to give to you. Basically, as we've done in the past, I'd like to make some payments to contractors that have done some work, approximately $657,000. We do have some monies that are in the FEMA side of the accounts. They're not 100% for these projects. The North Florida construction, we have those funds, but that one's easy at 157. For RBM, this is one of those projects that we have not received funding from FEMA, so we are borrowing from Peter to pay this call. But they would like to receive their $227,000. Florida construction, this is reimbursement for materials that are being purchased for the walkway. So again, those funds are already in our coffers. The $30,000, this is a relatively small project, but again, we're still going after funds through FEMA. We'd like to pay that $30,000 to GAC. And then lastly, the Crowder Golf. We continue to fight for the dredge money and and they would greatly appreciate $224,000, but we owe them $11.2 million. So if council is okay with this, I would like to release these payments.
What's the GAC project?
The GAC project is a project that is looking inside of all of our stormwater pipes and then making the repairs to the stormwater pipes, and then eventually vacuuming out the stormwater pipes and the structures. And this is, again, a hurricane project, and to give you the level of confusion there, they will not pay for videotaping the pipe unless there's damage in the pipe, but they won't. It's a chicken and egg thing. Once you videotape it, then you can charge for the areas where there's damage. But you gotta look through an area that doesn't have damage to get to the area that does have damage. It's frustrating, and now that we've done the video and shown that there is damage inside the pipe, now we have to go back through the system to get paid for the videoing of the pipe. It's a lot of process, Mayor, and it's aggravating, but, if we,
I knew about the video, and I didn't remember us, I didn't know, I couldn't remember who.
and Dewberry is currently sitting there spending hours, monitoring pipe and showing scale and developing volume, so again, it's a process.
Okay. All right,
And then I do have this map, and I'll make a copy of this map and put it in each one of your mailboxes. You remember we've been talking about the townhome district where we have the substantially narrower lots than our current land development code allows. In going through this, it looks like the maximum width that we should allow for a townhome district would be 30 feet. Anything that goes over 30 feet, they can actually build a home on it. So if we limit it to 30 feet, it means that you can't just build townhomes on any and every lot. But this blue color that you see here would be all of the areas that would receive that townhome use. We have found a spot there and a spot there that do not require it. And these parcels over here, that one larger parcel would not require it again, because those lots are 35 feet in width. So we'll have those for review. Once the planning board reviews it at our next meeting, then we'll have it officially on the planning board meeting and then to you guys in September. So sorry for the slow process, but this is one of those that we've got to dot every I and cross every T so that we don't screw anything up. And then our next meeting is where we talk about the budget.
anything else? Thank you. Council comments? Anybody?
Well, it's me again.
All right.
My virus situation is getting worse. The Bay County hospitals are full. Metro Beach as of yesterday, has 8. Again, I feel like common courtesy, respect towards others, in our municipal buildings, our meetings, we should be required to wear a mask.
I support that.
So we got a comment whether we do or not?
Well,
No,
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
I just, I actually have something on my phone that I would like to, for you guys that agree with the mask. There's a lot of research that says the mask is actually bad for you.
You can give all these back and forth. What I would like to do is make a motion that we would require to have masks in the city hall and our meetings.
I have a motion to require masks in our meetings and in, City Hall. Is there a second? There is no second. Motion dies for lack of a second. I would relinquish the floor, but it's Mayor Pro Tem, it won't help. So, we'll move on. Is there any other council comments? Jerry, nothing?
Yeah, we got the budget.
Sherry, you good?
I'm good.
Harold, you good?
I'm
You
good.
good? Okay, motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All right.
Give us a few minutes.
Absolutely.
I got to walk.
Yeah, we'll take about 10 minutes, let's take about 10 minutes to move around and.
Okay, I'm gonna make it.
We'll regroup.
I'm gonna walk back in, I don't want to leave without him coming back, I gotta get the truck in.
Ain't gone long, Marlene's ready to go.
Hey, go ahead with it without, start without.
No, no.
No worries.
How's your, how's that page do? I see your guy on mail.
See you in a minute.
Yeah, y'all did that job there behind, that looks good. That was real good. Yeah, we're, we got, I think, we got, 4 or 5 more.